Hello guys, welcome to Fictional Vortex. So in this video, we will see what if Naruto became the god of destruction, trained by Whis to replace Beerus Naruto x Vados, Dragon Ball Super. If you enjoy these kinds of stories, don't forget to show us some love by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your support means the world to us. Now, let's start the story. Chapter 1, The Seventh Path. The impact crater stretched nearly a mile wide, earth scorched black and trees reduced to ash. At its center, Naruto Uzumaki struggled to stand, his orange and black uniform hanging in tatters. Blood trickled from a gash above his eye, but it was the burning sensation in his chest that worried him most. "Kurama," he whispered, dropping to one knee. "Talk to me, buddy." Inside his mindscape, the massive nine-tailed fox lay curled in an unnatural position, orange fur flickering like a faulty light bulb. One massive eye cracked open. "Not looking good, kid," the fox growled, his normally booming voice barely audible. "That last attack against the Otsutsuki remnant, something's wrong. My chakra is destabilizing." Naruto pressed a hand against his stomach where the seal connected them. "We've been through worse. Remember pain? Obito? Kagaya? We always figure something out." Kurama's laugh turned into a hacking cough. "This is different. That bastard's attack wasn't just targeting our bodies. It was cosmic somehow. Like it was trying to tear apart the very nature of chakra itself." A fresh wave of pain shot through Naruto's body, driving him fully to the ground. Chakra that should have felt warm and energizing now burned like acid in his veins. Something was fundamentally wrong. "I'm not losing you," Naruto gritted through clenched teeth. "Not after everything." The sky above suddenly shifted color, drawing Naruto's attention upward. The clear blue darkened to a deep violet, and what looked like ripples spread across the heavens like someone had dropped a stone into a cosmic pond. "What the hell?" Naruto muttered, forcing himself back to his feet. A thin beam of light shot down from the center of the disturbance, striking the ground just yards away. The light expanded, and within it appeared a tall, slender figure with pale blue skin and white hair styled upward like a cone. He wore elaborate robes and carried a long staff topped with a sphere. The stranger surveyed the destruction with an expression of mild interest, as though observing an unusual insect rather than a battlefield. "Most impressive," the blue-skinned being said, his voice cultured and calm. "Especially for a mortal." Naruto immediately dropped into a defensive stance, wincing as Kurama's unstable chakra flared painfully. "Who are you? Another Otsutsuki?" The stranger tilted his head. "I am Whis, attendant to Lord Beerus, the god of destruction of Universe 7. He spoke as casually as someone might introduce themselves at a dinner party. "And you are Naruto Uzumaki, Jinchuriki of the Nine-Tailed Fox and possessor of Six Paths Chakra." How fascinating. Naruto's eyes narrowed. "How do you know who I am? And what's Universe 7? Whis tapped his staff on the ground, and a three-dimensional projection appeared in the air between them, countless swirling galaxies arranged in 12 distinct clusters. "Your world exists in what we call Universe 7, Whis explained, pointing to one of the clusters. "One of 12 universes governed by divine hierarchy. I've been monitoring unusual energy signatures across the cosmos, and yours." He paused, studying Naruto with newfound intensity. "Yours is quite exceptional. A blend of natural energy, Bija chakra, and the remnants of Six Paths power. Truly unique." Another spasm ripped through Naruto, bringing him back to his knees. Inside, he could feel Kurama's energy flickering dangerously. Whis frowned, stepping closer. "Your companion is in quite a state, isn't he? That Otsutsuki attack disrupted the fundamental balance of your shared energy. Can you help him?" Naruto asked, desperation evident in his voice. "Perhaps," Whis replied, circling Naruto with analytical eyes. "Though it would require something rather unconventional." He stopped, tapping his chin thoughtfully. "Tell me, Naruto Uzumaki, how familiar are you with the concept of cosmic balance? Naruto grimaced through another wave of pain. Not really the time for a philosophy lesson. On the contrary, it's precisely the time. Whis pointed his staff at Naruto's seal. Your fox friend is suffering because his energy, which exists partially outside normal physical laws, has been knocked out of cosmic alignment. To save him, you would need access to divine energy capable of restoring that balance. So give me some of this divine energy and let's fix him, Naruto said, struggling back to his feet. Whis laughed lightly. It's not quite that simple. Divine energy can't simply be given. It must be earned, cultivated, embodied. His expression turned serious. Lord Beerus, the current god of destruction, is becoming unstable. Increasingly erratic. The cosmic balance requires a replacement, and I've been searching the universes for a suitable candidate. Understanding dawned on Naruto's face. You want me to replace this destruction god? Your unique energy signature makes you remarkably compatible with the role, Whis confirmed. And the divine key you would gain access to could potentially stabilize your fox companion. Naruto looked down at his stomach, feeling Kurama's pain as his own. And if I say no? Then I wish you both the best of luck, Whis said with a small bow. Though I estimate your friend has less than 72 hours before his energy completely destabilizes, taking you with him. Kid, Kurama's voice rumbled in Naruto's mind, I don't trust this guy, but I can feel myself coming apart. If there's even a chance. Would I have to destroy things? Naruto asked, his voice hard. Because that's not my ninja way. Whis smiled enigmatically. Destruction isn't always what it seems, Naruto Uzumaki. Sometimes, one must destroy to create. Prune to allow growth. End to enable beginning. He extended his hand. I'm offering you a chance to save your friend and discover a new purpose. The choice, however, is yours. Naruto closed his eyes, centering himself despite the pain. After everything he'd fought for, peace, understanding, connection, becoming a god of destruction felt like a cruel joke. And yet, he couldn't let Kurama die. Not when there was a chance. I'll do it, Naruto said, opening his eyes with renewed determination. But I'm not promising to be like this Beerus guy. If I take this job, I do it my way. Whis' smile widened. I was hoping you'd say that. He tapped his staff on the ground. Now, we should hurry. Lord Beerus will be most intrigued to meet you, assuming his temper is in check today. The air around them warped, and Naruto felt a strange pulling sensation. The devastated battlefield blurred, replaced by streaks of light as they traveled faster than his mind could comprehend. Stars and galaxies whipped past like fireflies. Holy crap! Naruto yelped, his body feeling simultaneously weightless and heavy. Ah yes, interdimensional travel takes some getting used to, Whis commented casually, as though discussing the weather. Do try not to be sick. Cosmic vomit is dreadfully difficult to clean from my robes. Before Naruto could respond, the streaking light solidified into a small, grassy planet with unusual trees bearing fruit of all colors. A massive, pyramid-like structure dominated the landscape. They landed gently on the soft grass, though Naruto immediately doubled over, gasping. Welcome to Lord Beerus's world, Whis announced cheerfully. It's tiny, Naruto managed between breaths, looking up at the oddly small planet. Size is relative in divine realms, Whis explained. This planet exists partially outside normal spacetime. Now, let's introduce you to. A deafening crash interrupted him as something burst through the roof of the pyramid, shooting into the sky before arcing back down and landing with enough force to create a small crater just yards from them. The dust cleared to reveal a thin, purple cat-like being with large pointed ears and wearing Egyptian-style attire. His yellow eyes narrowed dangerously as he surveyed Naruto. Whis, the being growled, you brought a mortal to my domain without permission. I was having a perfectly good nap until I sensed this intrusion. Lord Beerus, Whis bowed slightly. May I present Naruto Uzumaki, a potential candidate to, candidate? Beerus's eyes widened before narrowing to slits. So the rumors are true. You are seeking my replacement. His body began to glow with purple energy. I am not finished with my tenure, Whis. Naruto felt the killing intent radiating off Beerus. It was unlike anything he'd experienced before, even against Madara or Kagaya. This wasn't just power, it was cosmic authority, the fundamental right to unmake. Look, Naruto started, raising his hands, I'm just here because. Beerus moved faster than Naruto could track, appearing directly in front of him. A single finger poked Naruto's forehead, sending him flying backward through several trees before he crashed into a boulder. Pathetic, Beerus sneered. This is your idea of a replacement, Whis. He couldn't even track my movement. Naruto pulled himself from the rubble, spitting blood. Inside, he could feel Kurama's energy flickering even more erratically with the impact. I didn't come here to fight you, Naruto said, standing straight despite the pain. But I'm not backing down either. Beerus's ear twitched. Oh. The mortal has spirit at least. He extended one clawed hand, and a small purple energy ball formed above it. Let's see how that spirit holds up against destruction energy. The ball shot toward Naruto with devastating speed. On instinct, Naruto tried to form a Rasengan to counter, but Kurama's destabilized chakra sputtered in his hand. Damn it! Naruto pivoted, barely dodging the energy ball that obliterated the entire landscape behind him. The shockwave still caught him, sending him tumbling across the ground. Beerus appeared above him, foot raised to stomp down. Disappointing. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Naruto shouted, forcing his remaining chakra into the technique. 3 clones popped into existence, grabbing the original and pulling him clear just as Beerus's foot created a crater where his head had been. The god of destruction looked genuinely surprised. Duplication. Interesting trick. I've got plenty more, Naruto said, as his clones surrounded Beerus in a triangle formation. And I didn't come here to take your job. I came to save my friend. One clone launched forward, drawing Beerus's attention while another attempted to flank. The god moved with casual grace, dispatching both with barely a flick of his wrist. But the distraction served its purpose. The third clone had helped the real Naruto gather what stable chakra he could manage into a familiar spiraling sphere. Rasengan. Naruto charged forward, driving the technique toward Beerus's chest. The god caught Naruto's wrist inches from impact, his expression shifting from boredom to mild interest as he examined the swirling energy. Compressed rotational energy with remarkable stability, Beerus observed. Crude, but effective. With a casual motion, he twisted Naruto's arm and slammed him into the ground, dissipating the Rasengan. Lord Beerus, Whis called, strolling over calmly as though watching a mildly entertaining sporting event, perhaps we could discuss this more civilly. The candidate's companion is in rather dire straits. Beerus sniffed, releasing Naruto. Fine. He's not worth destroying anyway. He glanced down at Naruto. Though I admit, there's something unusual about his energy. Naruto struggled to his feet, clutching his stomach as another wave of pain hit him. This time, visible red energy leaked from the seal, dissipating into the air like steam. As I was explaining, Whis continued, Naruto contains a cosmic entity whose energy was disrupted by an extradimensional attack. The Fox Spirits. Destabilization threatens them both. Beerus circled Naruto curiously. A mortal containing a cosmic entity? No wonder his energy signature feels so bizarre. He poked Naruto's stomach with one claw. Let me see this fox. Before Naruto could protest, Beerus's finger glowed purple, and the world around them shifted. Suddenly, they stood in the familiar sewer-like mindscape where Kurama resided. The massive fox was clearly visible, his form flickering like a bad transmission, parts of him seemingly dissolving into the air. Fascinating, Beerus murmured, approaching Kurama without fear. A chakra entity with cosmic properties. Your world has such interesting creations. Kurama's red eyes fixed on Beerus, recognition dawning in them. A destruction god, he growled weakly. I should have known. You cats always did think yourselves superior. Beerus's ears perked up. You know of destruction gods? How is that possible? The Sage of Six Paths, my creator, spoke of beings beyond our world. Gods who balanced creation and destruction across the cosmos. Kurama's form flickered more violently. Never thought I'd meet one. The Sage of Six Paths, Whis mused, appearing beside them in the mindscape. Ah yes, I believe I met him once. Fascinating fellow with those peculiar eyes. You met the sage? Naruto asked incredulously. I get around, Whis said with a smile. Though it was some time ago. He understood cosmic balance quite well for a mortal. Beerus was still studying Kurama. This entity isn't just chakra. There's divine residue in its makeup, extremely diluted, but present. He turned to Whis. The attack that destabilized it must have targeted that divine element specifically. Precisely my assessment, Lord Beerus, Whis nodded. Which is why godly ki could potentially stabilize it. Beerus snorted. And you think making this boy my replacement is the solution? His energy signature is remarkably compatible, Whis explained. And with the fox's divine elements, the transition could be smoother than with other candidates. Naruto stepped forward. I don't care about becoming a god or whatever. I just want to save Kurama. He's my friend. Beerus looked genuinely perplexed. Friend? A god befriending a mortal? He shook his head. Ridiculous sentiment. The mindscape dissipated, returning them to the small planet's surface. Naruto immediately collapsed to one knee, the journey into his own mind having drained what little stable energy he had left. Well, Beerus said, crossing his arms, this has been marginally entertaining, but I have important matters to attend to. He yawned dramatically. Like finishing my interrupted nap. Lord Beerus, Whis said, his tone shifting slightly, perhaps you recall our discussion about the cosmic anomalies affecting the 12 universes? The ones potentially affecting your own condition. A flash of something, possibly concern, crossed Beerus's face before he masked it with indifference. What of it? Training a successor isn't merely about replacement, Whis said carefully. It's about preparing for contingencies. And I believe Naruto's unique energy could prove valuable in understanding these anomalies. Beerus's tail swished irritably. Fine. The boy can stay. But. He pointed a clawed finger at Naruto. Don't think this means I'm retiring anytime soon. Consider this a probationary period. If his fox friend can be stabilized in the process, so be it. With that, the god of destruction turned and stalked back toward his pyramid, muttering about interrupted naps and ungrateful attendants. When Beerus was out of earshot, Naruto turned to Whis. Is he always like that? Oh, this was him in quite a pleasant mood, Whis replied cheerfully. You caught him right after a nap rather than before one. Quite fortunate, really. Naruto wasn't sure whether to laugh or be concerned. So what now? How do we help Kurama? Now, Whis said, tapping his staff on the ground, we begin your training. But first, let's get you stabilized. The orb atop Whis's staff glowed, and a gentle light enveloped Naruto. Immediately, the burning sensation in his veins subsided, though he could still feel Kurama's energy fluctuating. This is temporary, Whis cautioned. I've placed a cosmic buffer around your shared energy, but it won't hold indefinitely. Learning to channel godly ki is the only permanent solution. Then teach me, Naruto said, determination filling his voice. Whatever it takes to save Kurama. Whis smiled, seemingly pleased with the response. Very well. Your training begins immediately. He gestured toward a grassy area nearby. First lesson, understanding the fundamental difference between chakra and godly ki. As they walked, Naruto took in his surroundings properly for the first time. The small planet had unusual gravity, heavier than Earth but not uncomfortably so. The trees bore fruit of colors he'd never seen before, and small, pudgy creatures watched curiously from the bushes. Your world operates on chakra, a blend of physical and spiritual energy unique to your universe, Whis explained. Godly ki, however, exists on a different dimensional plane entirely. It doesn't just use energy, it interfaces directly with the fundamental forces of reality. Naruto scratched his head. That sounds complicated. Indeed. Which is why we'll start with something more practical. Whis tapped his staff, and a small purple energy ball appeared hovering before Naruto. This is destruction energy in its most basic form. I want you to try touching it without being destroyed. Naruto stared at the ball skeptically. That's the same stuff Beerus tried to blast me with. Similar, though considerably less potent, Whis assured him. The key is not to resist it, but to harmonize with it. Think of how you connect with natural energy for your sage mode. Naruto took a deep breath, centering himself as he would when gathering natural energy. He reached out slowly, fingers approaching the purple sphere. The moment he made contact, searing pain shot up his arm. Gah! He yanked his hand back, watching as purple energy briefly crawled up his skin before dissipating. Too resistant, Whis observed. You're treating it as an opponent rather than a complement. It's literally destruction energy, Naruto pointed out, shaking his stinging hand. Kind of hard not to see it as dangerous. Destruction isn't inherently negative, Whis said, gesturing around them. Consider your own world. Forest fires clear deadwood, allowing new growth. Rivers destroy mountains over time, creating fertile valleys. Death returns nutrients to the soil for new life. Naruto thought of the cycle of reincarnation, how even the greatest shinobi return to dust, their chakra rejoining the world. Try again, Whis encouraged. But this time, don't think of destruction as an end. Think of it as transformation. Naruto nodded, focusing again on the purple sphere. He reached out, but this time, instead of bracing against the energy, he tried to welcome it, like greeting an unknown but potentially friendly force. His fingertips touched the sphere, and while there was still a sharp sensation, it wasn't exactly pain. More like intense pressure or concentrated awareness. The purple energy crawled up his fingers again, but this time it didn't burn. Instead, it seemed to probe his own energy, as though testing compatibility. Good, Whis nodded approvingly. Now, try to hold it. Naruto cupped his hands around the sphere, feeling the strange energy pulsing against his palms. Inside his mindscape, he could sense Kurama stirring, the fox's attention drawn to this new power. It feels alive somehow, Naruto said, studying the energy. Not like chakra or even natural energy. More like purpose-given form. An apt description, Whis replied. Destruction energy is indeed purpose incarnate, the cosmic directive to transform through ending. Now, try to draw it into yourself, just a small amount. Naruto concentrated, imagining the energy flowing into his chakra network like he would with natural energy. The results were immediate and alarming. Purple energy shot up his arms and across his chest, converging on the seal containing Kurama. Pain erupted again, and Naruto doubled over, dropping the energy sphere. Interesting reaction, Whis observed, apparently unconcerned by Naruto's obvious distress. Inside his mindscape, Naruto could see the purple energy swirling around Kurama, sometimes seeming to stabilize the fox's flickering form, other times exacerbating the instability. It's fighting with Kurama's chakra, Naruto gasped. Not fighting. Recalibrating, Whis corrected. Your fox friend contains traces of divine energy that have been corrupted. The destruction energy is attempting to reset that balance. Naruto gritted his teeth through the pain. Is it helping or hurting him? Both, at present, Whis admitted. Your chakra system isn't configured to channel godly ki properly. We'll need to recondition your energy pathways, a process that typically takes decades. We don't have decades, Naruto reminded him. Kurama has days at most. Indeed, Whis tapped his staff thoughtfully. Which means we'll need to expedite the process. Unconventional, but these are unconventional circumstances. He pointed his staff at Naruto, and the orb at its top began to glow brightly. This may be uncomfortable. Before Naruto could ask what he meant by uncomfortable, energy surged from the staff and enveloped him completely. It felt like every cell in his body was being pulled apart, examined, and reassembled. He tried to scream, but his lungs refused to cooperate as his entire being was reconfigured at a fundamental level. The process lasted only seconds, though it felt like hours. When the light faded, Naruto collapsed to the ground, gasping. What the hell was that? He managed between breaths. A temporary restructuring of your energy pathways, Whis explained casually. It won't last more than a few days, but it should allow you to channel small amounts of godly ki without tearing yourself apart. Naruto struggled to his feet, feeling strange inside, as though his body was both heavier and lighter simultaneously. A little warning next time would be nice. My apologies, Whis said, not sounding particularly sorry. Now, shall we continue? For the next several hours, Whis guided Naruto through basic exercises in controlling godly ki. It was fundamentally different from chakra control, where chakra responded to intent and visualization. Godly ki seemed to have a will of its own, requiring negotiation rather than command. By sunset, though Naruto noted the sun on this small planet moved in strange patterns, he could maintain a small aura of destruction energy around his hand without it burning him. More importantly, the energy seemed to be having a stabilizing effect on Kurama, whose fluctuations had reduced in frequency. It's strange, Kurama commented within their shared mindscape. This energy, it reminds me of something from long ago. Something the old man talked about. The sage? Naruto asked, taking a break from training to sit beneath one of the strange trees. Yeah. He once mentioned forces beyond chakra that governed the cosmos. I didn't pay much attention, was too busy being angry at humans back then. Whis approached, carrying what looked like purple fruit. Refreshments? Destroyer metabolism is quite demanding. Naruto accepted the fruit warily. I'm not a destroyer yet. Your body is beginning the transition, regardless, Whis noted. The fruit will help supply the necessary cosmic nutrients. Naruto bit into it, finding the taste indescribable, somehow simultaneously sweet, savory, spicy, and cooling. Weird, but not bad. Your fox friend seems more stable, Whis observed. The temporary pathways are allowing destruction energy to neutralize the corrupted divine elements in his makeup. So he'll be okay? Naruto asked hopefully. For now, Whis cautioned. But long-term stability will require you to fully master godly ki. Your current state is like placing a bandage on a wound that requires surgery. Naruto nodded, determination setting in. Then I'll master it. However long it takes. Your resolve is commendable, came a new voice, different from Whis's but with a similar refined quality. Naruto turned to see another tall, blue-skinned being approaching. This one appeared female, with a similar hairstyle to Whis but styled in a ponytail. She carried a staff identical to his. Ah, sister. Whis greeted cheerfully. I was wondering when curiosity would get the better of you. Brother, the newcomer acknowledged with a slight nod. When you mentioned your unusual candidate, I felt I should see for myself. Her eyes, sharper and more critical than Whis's, examined Naruto thoroughly. A Jinchuriki with 6 paths chakra. How experimental of you. Naruto, may I introduce Vados, Whis said. Attendant to the god of destruction of Universe 6, and my elder sister. Elder by mere moments, Vados added with a slight competitive edge. Naruto stood, offering a hand in greeting. Nice to meet you. I'm Naruto Uzumaki, Vados finished for him, ignoring his extended hand. Child of prophecy, hero of the Fourth Ninja War, and Jinchuriki to the Nine-Tailed Fox. Yes, your reputation precedes you, even across universes. You've been monitoring his world too? Whis asked, sounding surprised. I keep track of all unusual energy signatures, Vados replied casually. Though I must say, brother, selecting a mortal with such strong ties to preservation as a destruction candidate is unorthodox. The best innovations often come from unexpected sources, Whis countered. Besides, his energy compatibility is exceptional. Vados circled Naruto, examining him from all angles. Compatibility, yes. But temperament? Philosophy? The boy literally fought a war to preserve peace and unity. I'm standing right here, Naruto pointed out, slightly annoyed at being discussed as though absent. Vados's gaze snapped to his, her expression unreadable. Indeed you are. Tell me, Naruto Uzumaki, how do you reconcile your desire to protect with the duty to destroy? The question caught Naruto off guard. He'd been so focused on saving Kurama that he hadn't fully considered the philosophical implications of becoming a destruction god. I guess. He started slowly, I've always fought to protect what matters. Sometimes that means fighting against those who would destroy needlessly. But destruction itself isn't always wrong. He thought of Niji, of those who had sacrificed themselves for a greater purpose. Sometimes, things need to end for something better to begin. Vados's expression remained neutral, but something in her eyes shifted, a glimmer of interest perhaps. An answer. Worth considering, she conceded. Though theoretical understanding is quite different from practical application. Which is why training is essential, Whis interjected. Speaking of which, perhaps you'd care to assist, sister. Your expertise in energy manipulation exceeds even my own. Vados seemed to consider this for a moment. I suppose observing this experiment could prove instructive. She turned her attention back to Naruto. Very well. I will provide occasional guidance, though my duties to Universe 6 take priority. Thanks, Naruto said, genuinely grateful despite her cool demeanor. I'll take all the help I can get. Don't thank me yet, Vados warned, a small smile playing at her lips. My teaching methods make my brothers seem positively gentle by comparison. Before Naruto could respond, a tremendous crash came from the direction of Beerus's pyramid, followed by an angry roar. Whis. Where is my dinner? Whis sighed dramatically. Duty calls. Lord Beerus becomes rather cranky when his meals are delayed. He turned to Vados and Naruto. Perhaps you could continue with basic key manipulation exercises while I attend to his lordship? Go, Vados waved him off. I'll assess the candidate's current capabilities. As Whis hurried toward the pyramid, Vados turned her full attention to Naruto. The intensity of her gaze made him feel like she was seeing through him, examining not just his body but his very soul. So, she said after a long moment, show me what my brother has taught you thus far. Naruto demonstrated the techniques he'd learned, generating a small aura of destruction energy around his hands, directing it in simple patterns, and attempting to blend it with his existing chakra. Vados observed silently, her expression revealing nothing. When he finished, she tapped her staff once on the ground. Adequate basics, she said finally. But fundamentally flawed in execution. Flawed how? Naruto asked. You're still approaching godly ki as though it were chakra, a tool to be wielded. She moved closer, her staff glowing. Divine energy isn't a tool, it's a state of being. You don't use destruction energy, you embody destruction itself. She touched the tip of her staff to Naruto's forehead, and suddenly his awareness expanded dramatically. For a brief, overwhelming moment, he could perceive the universe around him in ways he never had before, seeing not just physical forms but the very essence of existence, the potential for both creation and destruction inherent in every atom. Vados removed her staff, and the expanded perception faded, leaving Naruto gasping. What was that? He asked, steadying himself. A glimpse of divine perception, Vados explained. Gods don't just see the world as it is, they perceive it as it could be, both in its formation and its dissolution. Naruto's mind raced with the implications. So destruction gods don't just break things, they see what needs to end for something new to emerge. A flicker of approval crossed Vados's face. Perhaps there's hope for you yet, Naruto Uzumaki. She gestured for him to sit. Now, let's address your fundamentally flawed understanding of cosmic energy flow. For the next few hours, Vados guided Naruto through exercises that felt more like meditation than the physical training he was accustomed to. She emphasized awareness over action, perception over application. It was the opposite of how he'd learned to use chakra, where doing often preceded understanding. As night fell, or what passed for night on this strange planet, Naruto found himself able to generate a stable aura of destruction energy that didn't clash with Kurama's chakra. Inside his mindscape, the fox looked noticeably better, his form flickering less frequently. I hate to admit it, Kurama grumbled, but this divine energy is helping. I feel reconnected to something I'd forgotten. Getting your strength back? Naruto asked hopefully. Not exactly strength. More like alignment. As if parts of me that were knocked out of place are finding their proper position again. Their internal conversation was interrupted when Whis returned, looking slightly harried. Lord Beerus has finally retired for the evening, he announced. After consuming enough food to feed a small planet and destroying 3 serving bots that displeased him. As temperamental as ever, Vados commented. My compa at least restricts his destruction to mealtimes. How goes the training? Whis asked, looking between them. The candidate shows marginal promise, Vados replied, though her tone lacked the dismissiveness from earlier. His approach is unorthodox, but his adaptability is noteworthy. Coming from Vados, Naruto suspected this was high praise indeed. Excellent. Whis clapped his hands together. Then perhaps we can proceed to the next phase tomorrow, actual destruction techniques. Don't rush the process, brother, Vados cautioned. His energy pathways are still adjusting. Attempting destruction techniques too soon could backfire catastrophically. We're working against rather pressing time constraints, Whis reminded her, glancing at Naruto. I can handle it, Naruto insisted. Kurama's already stabilizing. The sooner I master this, the better. Vados studied him carefully. Determination is admirable, but destruction energy doesn't respond to willpower alone. It requires harmony and understanding. Then I'll understand faster, Naruto said with the same confidence that had carried him through impossible challenges before. A small smile tugged at Vados's lips. Bold words. We shall see if your abilities match your confidence. She turned to Whis. I must return to Universe 6. Compa will be wondering where I've gone. Will you return? Whis asked. Vados glanced at Naruto, something unreadable in her expression. Perhaps. This experiment may warrant further observation. With a tap of her staff, she vanished in a column of light. She's intense, Naruto commented once she was gone. My sister takes cosmic responsibilities very seriously, Whis replied. The fact that she's interested at all is quite significant. Vados rarely involves herself in matters outside Universe 6. Naruto yawned suddenly, the day's training catching up with him. You should rest, Whis advised. Your body needs time to adjust to the changes it's experiencing. Where do I sleep? Naruto asked, looking around the unfamiliar landscape. Whis tapped his staff, and a small dwelling materialized nearby. These accommodations should suffice. I've taken the liberty of stocking it with sustenance compatible with your transitioning physiology. Naruto approached the dwelling, a simple domed structure with a bed, table, and what looked like a meditation space. Thanks. What time do we start tomorrow? Time functions rather differently here, Whis explained. But I shall collect you when appropriate. He turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Naruto. Don't wander too far. Lord Beerus tends to destroy first and ask questions later when he encounters unfamiliar presences near his sleeping quarters. Noted, Naruto said with a tired smile. As Whis departed, Naruto entered the dwelling and collapsed onto the bed, physically and mentally exhausted. Within his mindscape, Kurama had curled up, his form still occasionally flickering but much more stable than before. Kid, the fox rumbled sleepily, you sure about this god business? Doesn't seem like your style. I don't know, Naruto admitted honestly. But it's keeping you alive, so that's enough for now. He closed his eyes, feeling the strange new energy settling into his system. Besides, who says I can't change what it means to be a destruction god? Kurama chuckled, the sound warmer than it had been in days. Always trying to change the world, even when the world is cosmic. Some things never change. Naruto smiled as sleep began to claim him. And some things have to. That's what I'm learning. His last conscious thought before drifting off was of Vados' penetrating gaze and the brief moment when divine perception had shown him not just what was, but what could be. In that instant, destruction hadn't seemed like an end at all, but the beginning of something new, something potentially beautiful. Somewhere far across the cosmos, in a realm between universes, something ancient stirred. Energy fluctuations rippled through the dimensional barriers, causing minute disturbances in the cosmic fabric, too subtle for most to detect, but significant nonetheless. A figure shrouded in darkness observed the disturbances with interest, particularly the unusual energy signature now emerging in Universe 7. Not quite mortal, not quite God, but something intriguingly in between. So, the figure murmured to the void, a new candidate emerges. How opportune. The darkness pulsed in response, as though eager for what was to come. Chapter 2, Destroyer's Mercy, again, Whis commanded, his normally pleasant voice taking on a rare edge of sternness. Naruto stood at the center of a training field, sweat pouring down his face despite the cool breeze. 6 months had transformed him, his orange and black uniform replaced by sleeker attire with purple accents reminiscent of Beerus's own garb, though Naruto had insisted on keeping orange as the dominant color. His hair was slightly longer, and faint purple markings had begun to appear on his forearms when he channeled destruction energy. I'm trying, Naruto grunted, holding his hands out toward a massive boulder. Purple energy crackled around his fingers, building to an impressive aura before suddenly fizzing out. Damn it! You're still resisting the final moment of release, Whis observed, circling him. You build the energy perfectly but hesitate at the crucial juncture. Naruto wiped sweat from his brow. It's different from ninjutsu. With Rasengan, I control everything from start to finish. This destruction stuff, it's like I have to let go right when it matters most. Precisely, Whis nodded. Destruction energy requires surrender at the moment of application. You must become a conduit rather than a controller. Easier said than done, Naruto muttered, shaking out his hands. Inside, he could feel Kurama's amusement. The mighty Naruto Uzumaki, struggling with letting go of control. How ironic, the fox teased. You're one to talk, Naruto shot back mentally. You weren't exactly zen when we first met. Over the past 6 months, Kurama had stabilized significantly. The fox's chakra no longer flickered dangerously, though it had changed, becoming more dense and taking on occasional purple undertones when it interacted with Naruto's growing reserves of destruction energy. Perhaps a different approach, Whis suggested, tapping his staff. The boulder vanished, replaced by a small, withered tree. Instead of thinking about destroying, think about transformation. This tree has reached the end of its natural cycle. Help it complete its journey. Naruto approached the tree, studying its gnarled branches and sparse leaves. It was clearly dying, holding on through sheer stubborn persistence. He placed his hand against the rough bark, closing his eyes. I can feel it, he said quietly. It's tired. Ready to let go, but something's keeping it hanging on. Yes, Whis agreed. Its life force is unnaturally extended. A corruption of the natural cycle. Now, apply destruction energy not to annihilate, but to release. Naruto took a deep breath, gathering purple energy around his hand again. This time, instead of pushing the energy outward, he let it flow through him like a conduit, sensing the tree's essence. "It's okay," he whispered to the tree. "You can rest now." The energy pulsed once, and the tree didn't explode or disintegrate as his previous attempts had done to targets. Instead, it seemed to sigh, a subtle shudder running through its form before it gradually dissolved into motes of light that scattered on the breeze. Where it had stood, a small sprout pushed up through the soil, vibrant and full of potential. "Whoa," Naruto breathed, staring at the sprout. "Well done," Whis said, genuine approval in his voice. "You've finally grasped the fundamental principle of destruction energy. It doesn't just end things, it transforms them, completing cycles that have grown stagnant." Naruto crouched to examine the sprout. "I didn't expect that. I thought it would just, go boom or something." "Crude destruction is merely the application of force," Whis explained. "Divine destruction is the implementation of cosmic will, recognizing what must end to allow new beginnings." "Kind of like what you did for me," Kurama commented inside Naruto's mind. "You destroyed my hatred, but that allowed something new to grow." The comparison resonated with Naruto. Throughout his life, he'd faced opponents who required not just defeat, but transformation, Pain, Obito, even Sasuke. Victory had never been about annihilation but about creating the conditions for change. "I think I'm starting to get it," Naruto said, standing up. "So a god of destruction isn't just some cosmic wrecking ball, they're more like gardeners. Pruning what needs to be cut back so the rest can thrive." A simplistic but not inaccurate analogy, came a familiar refined voice from behind them. Naruto turned to see Vados approaching, her staff tapping lightly against the ground as she walked. Over the past months, her visits had become more frequent, though still unpredictable. Each time she appeared, she'd observe Naruto's training, offer pointed critiques, and occasionally demonstrate techniques with an effortless grace that made Whis look positively clumsy by comparison. "Sister," Whis greeted cheerfully. "How fortuitous. Naruto has just achieved his first proper application of destruction energy." "So I observed," Vados replied, her gaze falling on the small sprout. "Though a rather gentle application, wouldn't you say?" "We all start somewhere," Whis shrugged. "The concept is grasped, refinement will come with practice." Vados circled the area where the tree had stood, examining the sprout with a critical eye. The transition was clean, at least. No residual energy displacement. She turned to Naruto. "You're progressing faster than I anticipated, though your methods remain unconventional." Coming from Vados, this was practically effusive praise. Naruto had quickly learned that her standards approached the impossible, and even the slightest acknowledgement of improvement was to be treasured. "Thanks," he said, grinning. "I've been working on that flow thing you mentioned last time, letting the energy move through me instead of trying to force it." Evidently, Vados nodded. "Though you'll need considerably more power for the task ahead." Naruto's grin faltered. "What task?" Vados and Whis exchanged a glance that immediately set off warning bells in Naruto's mind. "Well," Whis began diplomatically, "as you've now demonstrated basic proficiency with destruction energy, it's time to advance to more practical applications of your developing abilities." "Meaning?" Naruto pressed, though he suspected he already knew. "Planetary destruction," Vados stated bluntly. "The fundamental duty of a destroyer god." Despite 6 months of training and philosophical discussions about cosmic balance, the reality of what being a god of destruction actually entailed still hit Naruto like a physical blow. "You want me to destroy an entire planet? With people on it?" "Not people, precisely," Whis clarified quickly. "We've selected a declining world in the furthest reaches of Universe 7, a planet whose civilization collapsed millennia ago, leaving only primitive single-celled organisms struggling in a toxic environment. Its sun is failing, and cosmic calculations indicate the entire system is becoming a drain on universal energy. In short, Vados added, a mercy destruction. Releasing trapped energy to flow back into the cosmos, enabling new creation elsewhere. Naruto frowned, still uncomfortable despite the explanation. If it's going to die anyway when its sun fails, why not just let nature take its course? Because the slow death of a planet can create dimensional instabilities, Whis explained. Particularly when previous civilizations have left behind certain technologies or energy signatures. This world contains ancient devices drawing power from dimensional rifts, relics of a technologically advanced but ultimately self-destructive civilization. Unchecked, these devices could eventually create cascading failures affecting neighboring systems, Vados continued. Divine intervention ensures a clean energy transfer rather than a chaotic collapse. It made logical sense, but Naruto still felt a knot in his stomach. Destroying an entire world, even an uninhabited one, was a far cry from helping a dying tree complete its natural cycle. "You're overthinking this," Kurama commented. "It's no different from what you just did with that tree, just on a larger scale. Besides, I can sense you're not getting the full story here." "What do you mean?" Naruto asked silently. "These two are being very specific about this particular planet. I suspect there's more to this test than they're letting on." Naruto studied Whis and Vados, noting the careful neutrality in their expressions. Kurama was right, they were watching him too closely, measuring his reaction. "Okay," he said finally. "But I want to see this planet first. Assess it myself before making any decisions." Vados raised an eyebrow. "Decisions? A god of destruction doesn't request permission or deliberate over cosmic necessities." "Well, I'm not a god of destruction yet," Naruto countered. "Just a candidate, right? And candidates get to ask questions." A flicker of something, amusement, perhaps, crossed Vados's face. "Your candidacy doesn't grant you authority to question cosmic directives." "Maybe not," Naruto shrugged. "But it doesn't stop me either. I've never been good at blindly following orders, and I'm not about to start now, god or no god." Whis coughed delicately. "Perhaps observation before action would be instructive in this case, sister. After all, a god of destruction must develop discernment along with power." Vados considered this for a moment before giving a slight nod. "Very well. Observation first. But understand, Naruto Uzumaki, hesitation in cosmic matters can have far-reaching consequences." "I'm not hesitating," Naruto clarified. "I'm making sure I understand what I'm doing and why." "Big difference." "We shall see," Vados replied. She tapped her staff twice on the ground. "Prepare yourself for interdimensional travel. The journey to the outer reaches of Universe 7 is considerable, even at divine speeds." Naruto had grown somewhat accustomed to traveling with Whis, but journeying with both angel attendants proved to be an entirely different experience. Their combined powers accelerated them to speeds that made stars blur into continuous streams of light, galaxies flashing past like roadside markers. "Whoa!" Naruto gasped as they rocketed through what appeared to be a nebula, cosmic dust swirling around them in brilliant colors. "This is way faster than traveling with just Whis." "My brother insists on the scenic route," Vados commented dryly. "I prefer efficiency." "She means she shows off," Whis stage whispered to Naruto. "Always has, since we were created." "I heard that," Vados said without turning around. Naruto couldn't help but grin at their banter. Despite their formal demeanors, the angelic siblings had a dynamic that reminded him of his friendships back home, competitive yet fundamentally affectionate. Thinking of home sent a pang through Naruto's chest. 6 months had passed without any contact with his friends and comrades. Sometimes, in quiet moments between training sessions, he wondered what they thought had happened to him. Had they searched? Declared him missing? Moved on? "They're fine," Kurama reassured him, sensing his thoughts. Kakashi was Hokage when we left. He'll have kept things stable. Yeah, but still. Naruto trailed off as the cosmic blur around them suddenly resolved into normal space, revealing their destination. The planet before them hung in space like a tarnished coin, once perhaps beautiful, now mottled with sickly greens and browns. Its atmosphere was visibly turbulent, storm systems swirling across its surface in chaotic patterns. Most striking were the faint lines of pulsing energy that crisscrossed its surface, like glowing veins through diseased flesh. Planet Cryosis, Whis announced. Once home to the Arcadian civilization, a species that achieved dimensional manipulation technology approximately 20,000 years ago. Their experiments led to catastrophic failures that rendered the planet's surface uninhabitable and eventually caused their extinction. Those energy lines, Naruto pointed. Are those the devices you mentioned? Indeed, Vados confirmed. Dimensional taps, drawing energy from pocket dimensions. Most have degraded, but those that remain active are creating increasing instabilities. The planet's core is also affected, becoming dangerously unstable. Naruto studied the planet, extending his senses as Whis had taught him. He could feel the wrongness emanating from it, not just physical degradation but a deeper disharmony, as though the very fabric of space around it was fraying. I can sense it, he admitted. It's like the planet is in pain. A surprisingly apt description, Whis nodded. Planets, particularly those that have hosted advanced civilizations, develop a form of composite consciousness, not sentience precisely, but a harmonic resonance that can experience discord. Naruto continued his examination, stretching his awareness further. As his senses penetrated deeper, he detected something that made him frown. There's life down there, he said suddenly. Not just single-celled organisms. I can sense something larger. Concentrated awareness. Whis and Vados exchanged another look, and Naruto's suspicions immediately heightened. What aren't you telling me? He demanded. Very good, Vados said, sounding genuinely impressed. Your sensory abilities have developed considerably. Yes, Whis agreed. What you're detecting is part of the test, though we didn't expect you to sense it from orbit. What test? Naruto pressed. The planet does contain a small colony of sentient beings, Vados explained. Refugees who arrived approximately 3 centuries ago, establishing a subterranean habitat to escape persecution in another system. So there are people down there. Naruto's voice hardened. And you still want me to destroy the entire planet? These refugees were aware of the planet's condition when they arrived, Whis said. They chose a dying world specifically to hide from those pursuing them, knowing it would eventually become uninhabitable. That doesn't make it okay to wipe them out. Naruto objected. The test, Vados interjected calmly, is not whether you will destroy indiscriminately. It is whether you can identify the true cosmic imbalance and address it precisely. Naruto looked between the two angels, understanding dawning. This whole thing is a setup. You're testing whether I'll blindly follow orders or find another solution. More or less, Whis admitted cheerfully. Though the planetary instability is quite real, as are the refugees. Both situations require attention. So what am I really supposed to do here? Naruto asked. That, Vados said, is for you to determine. A god of destruction must make these judgments independently, balancing cosmic necessity against other considerations. Naruto turned his attention back to the planet, focusing more intently on the life forms he'd detected. There weren't many, perhaps a few hundred individuals gathered in what appeared to be a sealed environment beneath the planet's surface. They existed alongside the pulsing energy lines but didn't seem to be interfering with them. I need to get closer, he decided. See exactly what's happening down there. As you wish, Whis agreed. Though I should note that the atmospheric conditions are highly toxic. Even with your enhanced physiology, prolonged exposure could be problematic. I'll manage, Naruto said confidently. I've dealt with poison before. Vados tapped her staff, creating a protective bubble around the three of them as they descended through the turbulent atmosphere. Acid rain pelted the barrier, while lightning flashed in unnatural patterns around them. The surface, when it became visible through the thick clouds, was a desolate wasteland, cracked earth interspersed with pools of corrosive liquid and the occasional ruin of some ancient structure. "Cheerful place," Naruto commented grimly. The Arcadians were rather dramatic in their architectural choices even before their fall, Whis noted, pointing to a partially collapsed tower with spiraling designs. Rather reminiscent of Universe 3's Southern Quadrant styles. As they approached the ground, Naruto spotted one of the energy lines up close, a trench-like formation with pulsing blue-green light emanating from deep within. The energy didn't flow smoothly but seemed to stutter and spike unpredictably. "Those dimensional taps look unstable," he observed. "Increasingly so," Vados confirmed. "Each fluctuation weakens the dimensional boundaries further. Eventually, catastrophic collapse is inevitable." They landed near one of the larger energy trenches, the protective bubble maintaining their safety from the caustic environment. Naruto crouched at the edge of the bubble, examining the dimensional tap more closely. With his enhanced senses, he could perceive more than just the visible energy. He detected the wrongness of it, the way it tore at the fabric of reality like an infected wound. "I could seal these," he said thoughtfully. "Adapted Fuinjutsu combined with destruction energy to close the dimensional breaches without destroying the entire planet. An interesting proposition," Whis mused. "Though it would require extraordinary precision. And would still leave the core instability unresolved," Vados added. "The planetary body itself has been compromised beyond natural recovery." Naruto stood, determination setting in. "Let me talk to the refugees first. Then I'll decide what to do." The angels guided their bubble toward the location of the colony, traveling over the ruined landscape until they reached what appeared to be a massive crater. At its center, barely visible through the toxic haze, was a dome-like structure built of salvaged materials and unfamiliar technology. As they descended, movement became visible. Sentries patrolling the perimeter noticed their approach, triggering obvious alarm. Figures rushed for cover while others raised primitive weapons. "They're scared," Naruto observed. "With good reason," Whis replied. "Their history with outsiders has been primarily negative." The bubble touched down approximately 50 yards from the main entrance to the colony. Immediately, a group of figures emerged, humanoid but clearly non-human, with gray-blue skin and elongated features. They approached cautiously, led by an older individual whose demeanor suggested authority. "I should speak with them alone," Naruto decided. "They'll be less threatened." "The atmosphere remains toxic," Vados reminded him. "I can create a temporary barrier," Naruto countered. "Just enough to let me talk without them feeling cornered by all of us." After a moment's consideration, both angels nodded their agreement. Naruto formed a series of hand signs, creating a shadow clone outside their protective bubble. The clone immediately surrounded itself with a combination of wind nature chakra and a thin layer of destruction energy, a technique he developed during training to protect himself from Beerus's more destructive tantrums. The clone approached the colonists with hands raised in a universal gesture of peace. The leader stepped forward, revealing 4 arms and eyes that glowed with a faint internal light. "I am Ikraz, elder of the Lamidian remnant," the being announced in a rasping voice. "Why have you come to our sanctuary?" "We have no quarrel with outsiders who leave us in peace." "I'm Naruto Uzumaki," the clone replied. "I'm here because this planet is becoming dangerously unstable. The dimensional taps left by the Arcadians are failing, and they'll eventually cause catastrophic damage beyond just this world." Ikraz's glowing eyes narrowed. "We are aware of the planet's condition. It was a calculated risk when we settled here, isolation in exchange for limited time. Our scientists estimate we have at least 15 cycles remaining before critical failure." "I think you have a lot less than that," Naruto's clone said grimly. "The deterioration is accelerating. I can sense it." "And what concern is this of yours?" Ikraz asked suspiciously. Our people have been hunted across 3 systems. We chose this dying world precisely because no one would follow us here. I'm not here to hunt you, Naruto assured him. I'm here to help, if you'll let me. From within the protective bubble, the real Naruto observed the conversation while extending his senses further, probing deeper into the planet's structure. What he found confirmed his concerns. The core was indeed highly unstable, riddled with dimensional fractures that were spreading like cracks in ice. The angels were right about one thing: this world couldn't be saved in its current form. But that didn't mean its inhabitants couldn't be. Inside his mindscape, Kurama stirred. You're thinking of evacuation, aren't you? Yeah, Naruto confirmed silently. But where would they go? Sounds like they've been chased from everywhere else. There might be another option, Kurama suggested. Remember what you did with that tree? Transformation, not just destruction. The idea clicked into place, and Naruto turned to the angels. I have a plan, but I'll need your help. Oh. Whis raised an eyebrow. Do tell. Naruto outlined his idea quickly, watching their expressions shift from skepticism to consideration. Ambitious, Vados commented when he finished. And highly unorthodox. No candidate has ever attempted such a specific application of destruction energy. But is it possible? Naruto pressed. Theoretically, Whis admitted. Though the precision required would be extraordinary. I can do it, Naruto said confidently. With shadow clones to manage the dimensional seals while I handle the core transformation. And what of the Lumidians? Vados asked. Their cooperation would be essential. Leave that to me, Naruto said, turning his attention back to his clone's conversation with Ikraz. The elder was shaking his head. Relocation is impossible. The hegemony has declared our very existence a crime. Any world that harbors us would face their wrath. I'm not suggesting relocation, Naruto's clone explained. I'm talking about transformation, changing this planet rather than abandoning it. Ikraz's expression showed clear disbelief. Impossible. The planetary degradation is far too advanced. Maybe for conventional methods, the clone agreed. But I'm not exactly conventional. I can seal the dimensional breaches and use destruction energy to purge the corrupted core, allowing the planet to reset itself. Destruction energy? Ikraz stepped back warily. You speak of divine powers. Are you claiming to be a god of destruction? Not yet, the clone admitted. But I'm working on it. And right now, I've got just enough power to help your people, if you're willing to trust me. The elder conferred briefly with the others before turning back to Naruto. How would this process affect our colony? You'd need to consolidate everyone into the central chamber and activate whatever shielding you have, the clone explained. There will be significant seismic activity during the process. But when it's done, the toxic atmosphere should begin to clear, and the dimensional instabilities will be gone. And what do you gain from this intervention? Ikraz asked suspiciously. The clone smiled. Let's just say I'm not big on destroying things when there's another way. Plus, I've got some teachers who are very interested to see if I can pull this off. After further discussion and a demonstration of Naruto's abilities, creating multiple shadow clones and showing a controlled application of destruction energy, the Lumidians agreed to the plan. They would have 4 hours to prepare their community and strengthen their central chamber's shielding. As the clone dispelled itself, transferring its memories back to the original Naruto, Vados fixed him with an evaluative stare. You realize the energy requirements for this plan are substantial, she said. More than you've channeled in training thus far. Then it's a good thing I've got large chakra reserves, Naruto replied. Plus, Kurama's energy has stabilized enough to help. Even combined, your energies may be insufficient, Whis cautioned. The precision required for targeted destruction rather than complete planetary annihilation is considerably greater. That's where I'm hoping you two might help, Naruto admitted. Not with the destruction part, I get that's my test, but with stabilizing the environment during the process so the backlash doesn't wipe out the Lumidians. The angels exchanged another of their meaningful glances. Limited intervention could be permitted, Whis said finally. As observation was always part of the exercise. Stabilizing the localized environment around the colony falls within acceptable parameters, Vados agreed. The rest remains your task alone. Naruto nodded, already formulating his approach. I'll need to create about 100 shadow clones to place sealing techniques along each dimensional tap simultaneously. Then I'll personally handle the core transformation. 100 clones, each maintaining complex energy manipulation, Vados mused. Most impressive, if you can manage it. I once created thousands to fight a war, Naruto reminded her. 100 is nothing. Fighting is considerably different from precise energy manipulation, she pointed out. Good thing I've had an excellent teacher, then, Naruto replied with a grin that made something flicker in Vados's usually impassive expression. The next 4 hours passed in intense preparation. Naruto created several clones to scout the planet's surface, identifying all active dimensional taps while developing a modified sealing technique that would incorporate destruction energy. The real Naruto meditated, centering himself while communing with Kurama to align their energies. This is going to be rough, the fox warned. My energy is stable, but not fully integrated with your new powers yet. We'll make it work, Naruto assured him. We always do. When the appointed time arrived, the angels positioned themselves around the Lumidian colony, creating a protective field that would shield it from the worst of the planetary disruption. Naruto stood at what his scouting clones had identified as the primary nexus point of the dimensional network, a massive crater where multiple energy lines converged. Ready? He asked Kurama. As I'll ever be. Let's show these cosmic types what a couple of ninjas can do. Naruto grinned, forming the familiar cross-shaped hand sign. Shadow Clone Jutsu. In a massive burst of smoke, 99 identical copies of Naruto appeared, each already aware of their assigned position through the shared preparation. You know what to do, the original called out. Seal the breaches on my signal, then channel the energy toward me at the center. I'll handle the core purification. The clones nodded in unison before scattering across the planet's surface, each heading for a specific dimensional tap. Through their shared consciousness, Naruto could track their movements, feeling when each reached their position. Within minutes, all were in place. Quite the coordination, Whis observed from his position near the colony. Unorthodox but efficient, Vados agreed, watching Naruto with increasing interest. When all clones reported ready, Naruto closed his eyes, sinking into a meditative state that allowed him to perceive the planet's energy structure as a whole. The dimensional taps appeared as jagged tears in the fabric of reality, leaking corrupted energy into the planetary body. The core itself pulsed sickly, riddled with fractures and unstable reactions. Now! Naruto commanded, both verbally and through his connection to the clones. Across the planet's surface, 99 Naruto clones simultaneously pressed their hands to the dimensional taps, each executing the same complex sequence of sealing techniques. Chakra flowed into the energy trenches, creating barriers that began to close the dimensional tiers. As each seal activated, the clones introduced a carefully measured amount of destruction energy, not to destroy the seals, but to purge the corrupted energy within the breaches. At the central nexus, the original Naruto drove his hands into the ground, channeling destruction energy directly into the planet's core. Unlike the crude force he'd been taught to use for planetary destruction, this application was surgical, targeting only the corrupted elements while preserving the core's fundamental structure. The ground beneath him began to shake violently as the process accelerated. Across the planet, the clones maintained their positions despite the increasingly severe tremors, each feeding their sealed energy back toward the center through a network of chakra pathways Naruto had established. In his mindscape, Kurama's energy merged with Naruto's, the fox's massive reserves providing the stamina needed to sustain such an extensive technique. The core is responding, Kurama reported, his senses extending alongside Naruto's. The corrupted sections are breaking down, but there's resistance. More power, Naruto grunted, pushing deeper. Purple markings spread across his arms and face as he channeled unprecedented amounts of destruction energy. The sky above darkened ominously as planetary systems reacted to the massive energy manipulation. Lightning struck in continuous barrages while the toxic clouds swirled in unnatural patterns. From their positions around the Lamidian colony, Whis and Vados maintained their protective barrier, though even they seemed impressed by the scale of the energetic disruption. His control is remarkable, Whis commented as a particularly violent tremor shook the landscape. Most candidates would have simply obliterated everything by now. Indeed, Vados agreed. Though whether he can sustain this precision remains to be seen. At the central nexus, Naruto felt the resistance in the core suddenly spike. Something was fighting back, not natural forces but what felt like programmed defenses, ancient Arcadian technology responding to his intervention. "Kurama," he called out. "I need more power to break through their failsafes." "Taking it all could be dangerous," the fox warned. "Our energies aren't fully integrated yet." "No choice," Naruto grimaced. "If we stop now, the backlash could tear the planet apart anyway." With a growl of assent, Kurama released a massive surge of chakra. As it mixed with the destruction energy Naruto was channeling, something unexpected happened. The energies didn't just combine but transformed, creating a new energy signature unlike either component. Purple-red light erupted from Naruto's body, shooting skyward in a massive column visible across the dying planet. Through his connection to the clones, Naruto could feel the dimensional seals strengthening, the tiers not just closing but healing as the new energy purified the corrupted spaces between dimensions. In the core, the ancient defensive systems crumbled under the onslaught of this hybrid energy. Naruto directed it with increasingly precise control, breaking down only what needed to be destroyed while preserving the essential elements for planetary stability. Almost there, he gasped, sweat pouring down his face as he pushed to the absolute limit of his endurance. With a final, massive pulse, the energy reached the deepest part of the core. For a moment, everything seemed to pause, the tremors, the lightning, even time itself. Then, with a thunderous crack that echoed across dimensions, the corrupted elements of the core collapsed in on themselves, leaving behind purified material that immediately began to reorganize into stable patterns. Across the surface, the dimensional taps flared once before going dark, their connections severed and sealed. One by one, Naruto's clones completed their tasks and dispelled, sending their remaining energy back to the original. When the last clone vanished, Naruto finally allowed himself to collapse, falling backward onto the cracked earth. Above him, the turbulent clouds were already beginning to thin, allowing faint starlight to peek through for the first time in centuries. "Did it work?" he asked weakly as Whis and Vados appeared beside him, having maintained their protection of the colony throughout the process. "See for yourself," Whis suggested, helping him to a sitting position. Naruto extended his senses once more, marveling at what he found. The planet's core pulsed with renewed vitality, free of dimensional corruption. The atmosphere, while still toxic, had begun a natural cleansing process that would accelerate in the coming months. Most importantly, the dimensional instabilities were gone, the breaches sealed and purified. "The Lamidians?" he asked. "Shaken but unharmed," Vados reported. "Their elder is rather eager to speak with you. Once you've recovered some strength," Whis added, noting Naruto's exhaustion. "That was something else," Kurama commented, sounding equally drained but impressed. "Our energies, they did more than just work together." "Yeah," Naruto agreed silently. "It felt like something new. Something neither of us could do alone." After resting briefly and consuming one of the energy-rich fruits Whis always seemed to have available, Naruto felt strong enough to visit the Lamidian colony. Elder Ikraz met them at the entrance, his 4 arms extended in a gesture of welcome and what appeared to be reverence. "The sensors confirm what seems impossible," the elder stated, wonder evident in his voice. "The dimensional instabilities are gone. The core has stabilized. And our atmospheric processors detect the beginning of natural purification cycles." "It'll take time," Naruto cautioned. The surface won't be habitable overnight. But the planet will heal itself now that the corruption is gone. Ikraz studied him with glowing eyes. You claimed not to be a god of destruction, yet you have performed what our histories would call a miracle of divine intervention. I'm just a shinobi who's learning some new techniques, Naruto said with a tired smile. A rather modest assessment, came a new voice, one that made both angels stiffen slightly. A figure stepped from the shadows of the colony entrance, tall and regal with silver-white hair and eyes that seemed to contain galaxies. His attire was neither the formal robes of the angels nor the casual wear of mortals, but something in between, elegant yet practical, with symbols etched along the sleeves that shifted and changed when viewed directly. Lord Zenith, Whis acknowledged, his normally carefree demeanor suddenly formal. This is unexpected. Is it? The newcomer asked with a slight smile. I make it my business to observe unusual cosmic events. And this, he gestured to the recovering planet around them, certainly qualifies. You know this guy? Naruto asked Whis quietly. Lord Zenith was once a candidate for God of Destruction, Vados explained, her voice carefully neutral. For Universe 11, I believe. A lifetime ago, Zenith waved dismissively. I found the position restrictive. My interests evolved beyond simple cosmic maintenance. Something in his tone made Naruto instantly wary. There was a carefully controlled power in this being, not as raw as Beerus's but perhaps more focused, more deliberate. And what brings you to this remote corner of Universe 7? Whis inquired politely. Curiosity, Zenith replied, his galaxy-filled eyes turning to Naruto. I wanted to see the mortal who's causing such a stir among the divine hierarchies. The ninja who approaches godhood but refuses to abandon his humanity. He stepped closer, examining Naruto with unsettling intensity. Fascinating energy signature. Chakra, destruction energy, and something else, something ancient. I don't like this guy, Kurama growled within Naruto's mind. There's something wrong about him. Not evil exactly, but off. Thanks for the interest, Naruto said cautiously, but we're kind of in the middle of something here. Yes, your mercy destruction, Zenith nodded. Or rather, your mercy transformation. A creative solution, I must say. Most candidates wouldn't have considered an alternative to total planetary destruction. It accomplished the cosmic objective while preserving life, Whis pointed out. Within the parameters of a destroyer's duties. Perhaps, Zenith conceded. Though some might argue it demonstrates an unwillingness to make necessary sacrifices. His gaze returned to Naruto. Tell me, young candidate, what will you do when there is no third option? When destruction truly is the only path forward. I'll figure that out when it happens, Naruto replied evenly. Until then, I'll keep finding alternatives. Zenith laughed, a sound like distant wind chimes. Conviction. I admire that. He turned to the Lumidian elder. Your people have been granted a rare opportunity, Ikraz of the Lumidians. A second chance few receive in this cosmos. The elder bowed deeply. We recognize the blessing, Lord Zenith. You know him too? Naruto asked, surprised. Lord Zenith is known to many races who study the ancient ways, Ikraz explained. His knowledge of cosmic history is unparalleled. You flatter me, Zenith said with false modesty. I merely collect interesting stories. He returned his attention to Naruto. And yours promises to be most interesting indeed. With a casual gesture that nonetheless demonstrated considerable power, Zenith created a small portal beside him. Through it, Naruto could see what appeared to be a vast library stretching seemingly infinitely in all directions. I look forward to our next meeting, Naruto Uzumaki, Zenith said, stepping toward the portal. Perhaps then we can discuss the true nature of the multiverse, and what existed before it was divided. With that cryptic statement, he stepped through the portal, which closed silently behind him. A moment of tense silence followed his departure. Okay, what was that about? Naruto asked, turning to the angels. And what did he mean about, before it was divided? Whis and Vados exchanged yet another of their meaningful glances. Lord Zenith is complicated, Whis began diplomatically. He possesses knowledge that predates current cosmic structures, though much of what he claims is considered speculative at best. He studies boundaries, Vados added. The spaces between universes, the rules that separate dimensions. His interest in your actions today is concerning. Because I sealed dimensional breaches? Because you did so in a way that's never been done before, Vados clarified. Using a hybrid energy that exists outside established cosmic parameters. Naruto frowned, looking down at his hands where the purple markings had faded but not completely disappeared. You mean the combination of my chakra, Kurama's energy, and destruction power? Precisely, Whis nodded. Such hybrid energies are extremely rare and potentially disruptive to established cosmic hierarchies. Before Naruto could press for further explanation, Elder Ikraz approached, bowing deeply. Regardless of these cosmic matters, the elder said, our people owe you a debt that cannot be repaid. You have given us a future when we expected only managed decline. Just pay it forward, Naruto replied with a tired smile. When your world is healthy again, maybe you can help others who need a fresh start. The elder's glowing eyes widened slightly. An unexpected philosophy from one associated with divine destruction. I told you, Naruto shrugged. I do things my way. After ensuring the Lumidians were safely settled and making arrangements to check on their progress in the future, Naruto and the angels departed the recovering planet. As they traveled through space, Naruto couldn't shake the feeling that something significant had shifted during the encounter with Zenith. Some cosmic chess piece moved on a board he couldn't fully see. You should be pleased, Whis commented as they traversed the cosmos. You successfully resolved a complex situation while honoring both cosmic necessities and your personal principles. Indeed, Vados agreed, though her tone remained thoughtful. Your unorthodox approach proved surprisingly effective. But? Naruto prompted, sensing her reservation. But Zenith's appearance complicates matters, she admitted. His interest in new energy forms has historically preceded disruptions. You think he's up to something involving this hybrid energy? It would be consistent with his past activities, Whis confirmed. Though his actual objectives remain obscure, even to those who've known him for millennia. The journey back to Beerus's world passed mostly in contemplative silence, with Naruto processing everything that had occurred. The hybrid energy he and Kurama had created felt significant, a potential key to something greater than either destruction or preservation alone. Upon their return, they found Beerus awake and irritable, pacing the grounds of his pyramid with his tail swishing agitatedly. There you are, the god of destruction snapped when he spotted them. Gone for ages without explanation. I had to prepare my own food, Whis. My own food. My deepest apologies, Lord Beerus, Whis replied smoothly. We were overseeing candidate Naruto's first official duty. Beerus's ears perked up, his annoyance temporarily forgotten. Oh. Did he destroy something impressively? Or make a complete mess of it? Neither, precisely, Vados interjected. He transformed a dying planet rather than destroying it outright. Transformed? Beerus's eyes narrowed as he scrutinized Naruto. That's not the job description, boy. Gods of destruction destroy. It's literally in the title. The cosmic balance was restored, Whis pointed out. The corrupted elements were eliminated, allowing new growth. The fundamental purpose was achieved, if through unconventional means. Beerus circled Naruto, sniffing curiously. Your energy smells different. There's something new mixed in with the destruction power. His eyes widened slightly. And that fox entity inside you has changed as well. Yeah, Naruto confirmed. Kurama and I kind of created something new when we combined our energies with destruction power. Beerus looked genuinely intrigued now rather than annoyed. Show me. Naruto extended his hand, concentrating on recreating the energy combination from earlier. It came more easily this time, purple destruction energy intertwining with Kurama's red chakra to create a swirling energy that shimmered with both colors yet was distinctly its own force. Fascinating, Beerus murmured, all irritation forgotten as he examined the energy. It's neither destruction energy nor chakra, but something that exists between states. He looked up sharply. Has anyone else witnessed this? Unfortunately, yes, Vados replied. Lord Zenith appeared at the conclusion of the mission. Beerus's expression darkened immediately. Zenith? That cosmic busybody? What did he want? To observe, apparently, Whis said. Though his interest in Naruto's unique energy was evident. Of course it was, Beerus growled. Zenith has been poking around dimensional boundaries for eons, collecting energy signatures that don't fit the established order. He turned to Naruto. Be wary of that one. He presents himself as a scholar, but his ambitions run deeper. What exactly is his deal? Naruto asked. Whis and Vados mentioned he was a former candidate, but not much else. Beerus scratched behind his ear thoughtfully. Zenith believes the 12 universes were once a single entity, artificially divided by the first generation of gods. He seeks what he calls origin energy, the primordial force that existed before the division. And he thinks this hybrid energy we created might be related? Possibly, Vados confirmed. New energy forms that transcend universal constants often exhibit characteristics theoretically associated with pre-division forces. Great, Naruto sighed. So I've got a cosmic conspiracy theorist interested in my new power. That's just perfect. More concerning, Whis added, is that Zenith has resources and knowledge beyond most beings. If he's taking a direct interest in your development, it suggests larger designs. Naruto was about to respond when a sharp pain suddenly lanced through his body, driving him to one knee. Inside his mindscape, Kurama roared in surprise as energy fluctuated between them. What's happening? Naruto gasped as purple-red energy sparked visibly across his skin. Vados was beside him instantly, her staff glowing as she assessed his condition. The hybrid energy is attempting to fully integrate with your existing energy pathways. Your temporary accommodations are no longer sufficient. The transformation is accelerating, Whis observed, looking concerned for the first time since Naruto had met him. Likely catalyzed by the large-scale energy manipulation you performed. Can you fix it? Naruto asked through gritted teeth. Not fix, Vados corrected. Guide. This integration was inevitable, though we expected it to occur more gradually. Beerus watched with unexpected intensity. Take him to the Nexus chamber, he instructed Whis. It's designed for energy transitions. Without waiting for acknowledgement, Whis tapped his staff, teleporting all 4 of them instantly to a chamber deep within Beerus's pyramid that Naruto had never seen before. The room was circular with crystalline walls that pulsed with faint light. Symbols etched into the floor formed concentric circles around a central platform. Lie there, Beerus directed, pointing to the platform. Quickly, before the energies destabilize further. Naruto complied, the pain intensifying as he stretched out on the crystal surface. Within his mindscape, Kurama's form was changing, his orange-red fur now streaked with purple that seemed to pulse in time with the room's illumination. Something's happening to me, the fox growled, his voice deeper and somehow more resonant than before. I feel like I'm expanding somehow. Vados and Whis positioned themselves on opposite sides of the platform, their staffs crossing above Naruto's prone form. Beerus stood at his head, paws extended over Naruto's temples. This will be unpleasant, the destruction god warned, uncharacteristically serious. But fighting it will only make it worse. Let the transformation happen. What? Transformation? Naruto managed to ask before another wave of pain hit, this one so intense that it stole his voice. Your fox companion contains divine fragments, Vados explained quickly. They've been dormant until now, but your use of destruction energy has awakened them. Combined with your own developing godly ki, they're creating something new, a cosmic chakra entity. The first of its kind, Whis added. A fusion of mortal chakra construct and divine energy pattern. Inside the mindscape, Kurama thrashed as his body continued to change. The fox's eyes, normally red with slitted pupils, now contained galaxy-like swirls of energy. His tails, still 9 in number, had begun to emit a cosmic aura visible even within the mental landscape. "Kid," Kurama called out, his voice echoing strangely, "this is bigger than just fixing my instability. I think I'm becoming something else entirely." "Just hold on," Naruto replied mentally, reaching out to his partner despite his own pain. "We're in this together, remember?" In the physical world, the angel's staffs began to glow more intensely, creating a contained field around Naruto's body. Beerus channeled destruction energy in its purest form, not to destroy, but to catalyze the transformation, breaking down barriers between different types of energy. "The integration is progressing," Whis reported after several minutes of intense concentration. "The energy pathways are reconfiguring successfully. His mortal coils are adapting remarkably well," Vados agreed, though her voice showed rare strain from the effort of guiding such complex energies. Few candidates have transitioned so smoothly, despite the accelerated timeline. Throughout the process, Naruto remained conscious, experiencing every moment of the transformation. Unlike his previous encounters with great power, merging with Kurama, receiving 6 paths energy, this change felt fundamental, as though the very blueprint of his existence was being rewritten. Inside the mindscape, he stayed connected to Kurama, their energies flowing together more freely than ever before. The fox's transformation continued, his massive form growing slightly larger while becoming more defined, as though gaining a higher resolution of existence. "I remember now," Kurama said suddenly, his voice resonating with new depth. "The old man, the sage, he didn't just create us bijou from the 10 tails. He infused us with something else, something he called the echo of creation." Echo of creation. A counterbalance to destruction, Kurama explained, seeming to access knowledge previously locked away. He said that true power wasn't just about ending things, but about creating space for new beginnings. As Kurama spoke, the final pieces of the transformation clicked into place. The pain peaked then suddenly vanished, replaced by a sensation of profound integration. The energies that had been fighting now flowed together harmoniously, creating something greater than their individual components. In the Nexus chamber, the light from the angel's staffs gradually faded as they completed their work. Beerus stepped back, studying Naruto with unexpected respect. "Well," the god of destruction said, "that was certainly more dramatic than most candidacy transitions." Naruto sat up slowly, feeling fundamentally different yet somehow more himself than ever before. The purple markings on his skin had stabilized into patterns reminiscent of both sage mode and godly symbols, though they faded to near invisibility when he wasn't actively channeling power. "How do you feel?" Whis asked, observing him carefully. "Different," Naruto replied, flexing his fingers as small wisps of the new hybrid energy danced between them. "But good different. Like everything's finally in the right place." "And your companion?" Vados inquired. Naruto closed his eyes briefly, connecting with Kurama. What he found made him smile. "He's transformed too. Not just stabilized, evolved. He says he's a cosmic chakra entity now, whatever that means." "It means," Beerus said, sounding surprisingly knowledgeable, "that your fox friend has reclaimed his divine heritage. The bijou were never merely chakra constructs, they were conduits for primordial energies, though few realized their true potential." "The sage of 6 paths understood," Whis added. "His connection to divine realms, while limited, gave him insights beyond most mortals." Naruto stood, feeling stronger and more balanced than ever before. "So what does this mean for my candidacy? For becoming a god of destruction?" "It means," Vados replied, "that you are no longer merely a candidate. The energy transformation has accelerated your ascension significantly." "Though not completed it," Whis clarified quickly. There remain trials and responsibilities before full godhood is attained. Beerus circled Naruto once more, his expression thoughtful. It also means you become something potentially unprecedented, a god candidate with creation aspects as well as destruction potential. The cosmic bureaucracy will have a field day with the paperwork. Despite the serious situation, Naruto couldn't help laughing at the idea of cosmic paperwork. The sound came out different than before, richer somehow, with a subtle resonance that made the crystal walls of the chamber vibrate slightly in response. "So what now?" he asked when his laughter subsided. "Now," Whis said, "we continue your training with your new capabilities. And," he added more seriously, "we monitor Lord Zenith's activities more closely. Your transformation will not have escaped his notice." "Indeed," Vados agreed. "Energy fluctuations of this magnitude reverberate across dimensional boundaries. If Zenith seeks origin energy, your hybrid power will certainly draw his continued attention." As if on cue, a sharp pain lanced through Naruto's head, not physical but perceptive, like suddenly gaining a new sense. He staggered slightly, pressing his palm to his temple. "What was that?" he gasped. Whis and Vados exchanged alarmed glances. "What did you perceive?" Vados asked urgently. "A tear, I think," Naruto described, trying to articulate the strange sensation. "Like something ripping open where it shouldn't. Similar to those dimensional taps on Cryosis, but bigger. Much bigger." Whis' staff immediately projected a cosmic map, highlighting a region at the boundary between universes 7 and 6. A pulsing anomaly was clearly visible, growing larger by the moment. "A dimensional rift," Vados confirmed, her usual composure slipping slightly. "And not a natural one." "Zenith?" Beerus growled. "Most likely," Whis nodded grimly. "The timing is too convenient to be coincidental." Vados studied the projection with increasing concern. "This rift is forming at a major nexus point between universes. If it destabilizes completely. Cascading failures across multiple dimensional boundaries," Whis finished. "Potentially catastrophic. We need to seal it," Naruto said immediately, the solution obvious to him after his experience on Cryosis. "I can adapt the technique I used for the dimensional taps." "This is considerably larger and more complex," Vados cautioned. "The energy requirements would be substantial." "Good thing I've got plenty of energy to spare," Naruto replied, already preparing himself mentally. "Besides, this is kind of my specialty now, right? Cleaning up dimensional messes." Beerus snorted. "A god of destruction specializing in repairs. How utterly backward." Despite his words, there was a note of what might almost be approval in his tone. "The rift continues to expand," Whis reported, the projection showing accelerating growth. "We must act quickly." "Then let's go," Naruto said with determination. "My first official crisis as a, whatever I am now. God candidate with unprecedented hybrid energy and a cosmic chakra entity partner," Beerus supplied helpfully. "Really rolls off the tongue." Despite the tense situation, Vados' lips quirked in what might have been a suppressed smile, the most emotion Naruto had seen from her yet. "Perhaps we can work on the title later," she suggested dryly. After addressing the dimensional catastrophe. The journey to the rift location was faster than any previous travel, with both angels combining their powers to traverse the cosmic distance in mere moments. What they found upon arrival was both beautiful and terrifying, a massive tear in the fabric of reality, edges pulsing with chaotic energy in colors Naruto had never seen before. Through the rift, strange landscapes and impossible geometries were visible, shifting and reforming in patterns that hurt to look at directly. "Definitely artificial," Whis confirmed, studying the phenomenon. "These energy signatures bear Zenith's distinct manipulation patterns." "But why create such a dangerous rift?" Naruto asked, already forming shadow clones to help analyze the dimensional tier structure. "What does he gain?" "Access," Vados explained, her staff projecting complex energy readings. "This type of rift doesn't just connect universes, it creates a momentary window to the space between them, where the barriers are thinnest. The void between universes contains traces of predivision energies, Whis added. What Zenith calls, origin energy. By creating this rift, he can potentially harvest those traces. At the risk of catastrophic dimensional collapse, Beerus growled, destruction energy gathering around his paws. Typical Zenith, risking everything for his obsessions. Through his shadow clone's observations, Naruto quickly developed a mental map of the rift structure. It was far more complex than the dimensional taps on Cryosis, not just a tear but an intricate network of fractures designed to draw energy from specific dimensional frequencies. This isn't just a harvesting operation, he realized, sharing his clone's perceptions. It's more like a resonance cascade. He's trying to trigger something bigger. Vados's expression sharpened. You perceive the harmonic structure. Impressive. If the resonance reaches critical amplitude, Whis said grimly, it could potentially trigger sympathetic rifts throughout both connected universes. So we not only need to close it, but disrupt the resonance pattern, Naruto concluded. He turned to the angels. I need you to stabilize the outer boundaries while I work on the core structure. My clones will handle the harmonic disruption. The decisiveness in his voice, so natural yet so reminiscent of divine authority, seemed to momentarily surprise both angels before they nodded in agreement. Beerus, Naruto continued, the respectful title, Lord, forgotten in the urgency of the moment, your destruction energy can break the primary resonance nodes. Target the points my clones identify. Rather. Then taking offense at the informal address, Beerus actually grinned. Giving orders to a god of destruction? You've either grown extremely confident or suicidally foolish. Nevertheless, he positioned himself as directed, awaiting targets. With everyone in position, Naruto closed his eyes, connecting deeply with Kurama. Together, they generated the hybrid energy that had emerged during their transformation, purple-red power that existed between creation and destruction, perfect for manipulation of dimensional boundaries. Ready when you are, kid, Kurama rumbled, his transformed consciousness expanding alongside Naruto's. The shadow clones moved into formation around the rift, each identifying a specific harmonic node in a complex pattern. As they signaled readiness, Beerus launched precisely calibrated destruction energy at the designated points, disrupting the resonance structure. Meanwhile, Whis and Vados created a containment field around the outer boundaries of the rift, preventing further expansion while Naruto worked. At the center of the operation, Naruto began the delicate process of reweaving reality itself. Unlike crude sealing or brute force destruction, this required understanding the fundamental patterns of dimensional integrity and restoring them to their natural state. The hybrid energy proved perfect for the task, destruction aspects breaking down corrupted patterns while creation elements restored proper cosmic fabric. As Naruto worked, he found himself perceiving reality on levels he'd never imagined possible, seeing not just physical space but the mathematical structures underlying existence itself. The resonance is destabilizing, was reported after several minutes of intense work. Harmonic collapse imminent. Almost there, Naruto replied, sweat beading on his forehead as he manipulated increasingly complex energy patterns. Just as the rift began to collapse inward, a sign of successful disruption, a new energy signature suddenly flared from within the dimensional tear. A familiar figure emerged from the impossible geometries, silver-white hair unruffled despite the chaotic energies swirling around him. Impressive work, Naruto Uzumaki, Zenith called out, holding what appeared to be a crystalline container filled with swirling, opalescent energy. Few beings could disrupt my harmonic cascade so efficiently. Zenith. Beerus snarled. I might have known you'd be behind this insanity. Insanity? Zenith raised an eyebrow. I prefer to call it necessary research. The boundaries between universes are artificial constructs, Lord Beerus, impediments to the natural unified state. Those artificial constructs prevent cosmic collapse, Vados countered sharply. The division exists for a reason. So we've been told by those who benefit from separation, Zenith replied smoothly. His galaxy-filled eyes fixed on Naruto. But our young friend here has already discovered what lies between divisions, energy that transcends artificial boundaries. Naruto continued his work on the rift, even as he engaged with Zenith. Whatever you're doing, it's endangering both universes. I can't let that continue. Both universes? Zenith laughed. Such limited thinking. There are 12, young god, artificially divided from what was once a singular cosmos. And what was split apart yearns to be whole again. The crystalline container in his hands pulsed brighter, the energy within seeming to respond to the hybrid power Naruto was channeling. You see. Zenith gestured to the reaction. Even these trace elements of origin energy recognize your power as kindred. Your hybrid energy is closer to the primordial state than anything created within the current cosmic paradigm. That doesn't justify risking universal collapse, Naruto argued, sealing another section of the rift. His shadow clones continued their work, gradually stabilizing the dimensional boundaries despite Zenith's interference. A temporary risk for permanent elevation, Zenith countered. Imagine a cosmos without arbitrary divisions, where energy flows freely as it was meant to, where artificial hierarchies of gods and mortals dissolve into natural cosmic harmony. Enough philosophy, Beerus snapped, destruction energy gathering around him. Step away from the rift, Zenith, or face destruction. Zenith smiled sadly. Always the enforcer, never the visionary. He pocketed the crystalline container and raised his hand, generating a shield that deflected Beerus's destruction blast with concerning ease. Your power is impressive as always, Lord Beerus, but ultimately constrained by the very system I seek to transcend. The exchange gave Naruto the opening he needed. While Zenith was focused on Beerus, a shadow clone slipped through his defenses, applying a modified sealing technique directly to the core of the resonance pattern. The effect was immediate, the harmonics collapsed entirely, and the rift began to close rapidly from the center outward. Zenith's expression shifted from confidence to surprise. Clever. Using distraction to target the primary node. He inclined his head slightly to Naruto. You continue to exceed expectations. That's kind of my thing, Naruto replied, channeling more hybrid energy into the sealing process. Realizing his operation was compromised, Zenith stepped back toward the closing rift. This is merely one attempt of many, young god. The boundaries grow thinner with each passing cycle, and what was divided will eventually reunite, with or without our intervention. Zenith, Vados called out, her voice carrying unusual authority, the Grand Priest will be informed of this incident. Further boundary manipulations will not be tolerated. The Grand Priest, Zenith chuckled, is merely another custodian of an artificial system. But do send my regards. With a final enigmatic smile toward Naruto, he stepped backward into the collapsing rift, vanishing into the impossible geometries beyond. With Zenith gone, Naruto and the angels quickly completed their work, sealing the dimensional tear and stabilizing the surrounding cosmic fabric. When the last energy fluctuations faded, Naruto dismissed his remaining clones, absorbing their experiences and knowledge. That was intense, he commented, breathing heavily from the exertion. And concerning, Whis added, studying the now sealed area with his staff. Zenith's abilities have grown since our last encounter with him. The ease with which he manipulated dimensional boundaries suggests access to power sources beyond conventional cosmic energy. The origin energy he collected, Vados theorized. Even small amounts could potentially amplify his existing abilities considerably. Beerus paced irritably in the vacuum of space, his tail swishing. We should hunt him down now, before he attempts something even more reckless. Locating Zenith has always been problematic, Whis reminded him. His sanctuary exists partially outside conventional dimensional space. Naruto was only half listening to their discussion, his focus drawn to the lingering energy signatures in the area. Something about Zenith's words resonated uncomfortably, the idea of artificial division, of cosmic unity disrupted by imposed boundaries. It echoed too closely with his own experiences bringing people together, breaking down barriers that separated individuals and nations. He wasn't lying, Naruto said suddenly, drawing surprised looks from the others. At least, he doesn't believe he's lying. I could sense his conviction, he genuinely believes he's working towards some greater cosmic harmony. Most dangerous zealots do, Vados observed. Conviction doesn't equate to correctness. No, Naruto agreed. But it means he's not just power-hungry or destructive for its own sake. He has a purpose he believes in absolutely. Which makes him all the more dangerous, Beerus growled. Those who believe they serve a greater good rarely hesitate at necessary evils. Naruto couldn't argue with that logic. He'd seen firsthand how conviction could drive good people to terrible actions. Pain, Obito, even Madara had believed themselves righteous in their causes. What now? He asked, looking between his mentors. Now, Whis replied, we report this incident to appropriate authorities while continuing your training. Zenith's interest in your hybrid energy makes accelerated development even more crucial. And, Vados added with unusual decisiveness, I will officially request reassignment as joint mentor to your candidacy. The connection between universes 6 and 7 in this matter suggests coordinated oversight is warranted. Her announcement surprised everyone, especially Naruto. While Vados had been increasingly involved in his training, an official reassignment was significant. Angel attendants rarely divided their attention between multiple duties. Are you sure? Naruto asked. What about your responsibilities to Universe 6? To Kampa? My brother can manage Lord Kampa temporarily, Vados replied with what might have been the ghost of a smile. He could use the exercise. Hey! Whis protested. I have more than enough responsibilities already with Lord Beerus and training Naruto. Then perhaps you should delegate more effectively, Vados suggested serenely. Besides, the hybrid energy Naruto has developed exists between universes. Understanding it fully requires perspective from both. The siblings continued their good-natured bickering as they prepared to return to Beerus's world, but Naruto noticed something else in their interaction. Genuine concern beneath the professional justifications. The incident with Zenith had disturbed them more deeply than they were openly admitting. They're worried, Kurama confirmed within their shared mindscape. Angels don't change their routines lightly. Something about this Zenith character and his interest in our energy has them genuinely concerned. Yeah, Naruto agreed silently. And I get the feeling we're still missing big pieces of the puzzle. As they traveled back through the cosmos, Naruto found himself reflecting on how dramatically his life had changed in just 6 months. From dying ninja to god candidate with cosmic responsibilities, it was a transformation more profound than anything he could have imagined. Yet through it all, his core principles remained unchanged. Whether facing planetary corruption or dimensional rifts, his instinct was still to protect, to heal, to transform rather than simply destroy. Perhaps that was why his hybrid energy had emerged, not despite his resistance to traditional destruction roles, but because of it. Beside him, Vados traveled in uncharacteristic silence, her gaze occasionally turning his way with an expression he couldn't quite decipher. When their eyes met, she didn't look away as she normally would, instead maintaining contact for a moment longer than necessary. Your performance today was exceptional, she said finally, her voice pitched for his ears alone as Whis and Beerus argued about something ahead of them. Few beings at any level of cosmic hierarchy could have managed such precise dimensional manipulation. I had good teachers, Naruto replied with a smile. You had good instincts, Vados corrected. Teachers merely provided context. Coming from Vados, this was extraordinary praise. Naruto felt an unexpected warmth at her words, and something shifted subtly between them, a new understanding, perhaps, or the recognition of potential neither had fully acknowledged before. As Beerus's planet came into view, Naruto found himself looking forward to the next phase of training with both anticipation and a new sense of purpose. Zenith's schemes, whatever they might be, would need to be countered. The hybrid energy he and Kurama had developed would need to be mastered fully. And somewhere in the process, Naruto suspected, he would need to define exactly what kind of god he intended to become, one who served existing cosmic structures, or one who, like Zenith, sought to transform them. Always the revolutionary, Kurama commented with amused resignation. Even in godhood, you can't just follow the established path. Would you have it any other way? Naruto asked silently. The fox's rumbling laugh echoed through their shared consciousness. No, kid. No, I wouldn't. As they landed on the familiar grounds of Beerus's world, Naruto noticed Vados watching him with that same unreadable expression. When their eyes met again, something new passed between them, recognition, perhaps, of shared purpose or complementary vision. Whatever challenges lay ahead, Naruto knew one thing with absolute certainty: his path to godhood would be uniquely his own, shaped by the bonds he formed and the principles he refused to abandon. Not just a god of destruction, but something new, something that might, in its own way, transform the cosmos just as surely as Zenith sought to do. The difference was, Naruto intended to build those changes on connection rather than division, on understanding rather than zealotry. And that, perhaps, made all the difference. Chapter 3, Divine Revolution. Faster, Vados instructed, her staff deflecting the barrage of energy spheres Naruto launched toward her. A god of destruction strikes with conviction, not hesitation. Naruto grinned, his movements blurring as he created 3 shadow clones that attacked from different angles. Each clone channeled a different energy signature, one pure destruction energy, one chakra-based, and one the hybrid purple-red power that had become his trademark. Vados countered each attack with elegant precision, but Naruto noticed the slight adjustment in her stance when facing the hybrid energy, the only tell that it presented a unique challenge even for her. Better, she acknowledged as the clones dissipated. Your energy control has improved considerably. Just considerably? Naruto teased, landing lightly on the training ground. Not remarkably or exceptionally. A year had passed since the dimensional rift incident. In that time, Naruto had grown comfortable in his developing role, and even more significantly, Vados had become a permanent fixture in his training. Her official reassignment as joint mentor had raised eyebrows throughout the cosmic hierarchy, but her results spoke for themselves. Naruto's progress under dual tutelage had accelerated beyond all expectations. I reserve superlatives for truly exceptional performance, Vados replied with what passed for playfulness in her typically reserved demeanor. Though I admit your rate of improvement continues to surprise me. Coming from Vados, this bordered on effusive praise. Their relationship had evolved into something neither had anticipated, a partnership built on mutual respect and growing personal connection that transcended the traditional mentor-student dynamic. I had a good breakfast, Naruto shrugged with false modesty. Those cosmic fruit things was brought back from Universe 4 really pack a punch. The chronoberries? Vados raised an eyebrow. Those were meant to be rationed for specialized training sessions. Their temporal properties can have unpredictable effects on developing divine physiology. Oops. Naruto offered with an unrepentant grin. Vados sighed, though a subtle smile played at her lips. Your cavalier attitude toward cosmic protocols remains both your greatest strength and most concerning liability. You wouldn't have me any other way, Naruto replied confidently. Something flickered in Vados's expression, a momentary softening that she quickly masked with her usual professional demeanor. Your presumption is noted, candidate. Their exchange was interrupted by a familiar presence, Kurama manifesting in semi-corporeal form beside Naruto. The fox's transformation had completed 3 months prior, allowing him to exist both within Naruto and as a separate entity when desired. His appearance had evolved dramatically, still fox-like but with cosmic energy visibly flowing through his orange-red fur, creating patterns like constellations across his body. His 9 tails now emitted a subtle glow, and his eyes contained galaxy-like depths. If you two are finished with your verbal sparring, Kurama rumbled, his voice carrying the resonance of cosmic power, we have company approaching. Naruto extended his senses, immediately detecting the familiar energy signature. Whis is back from the Kaioshin meeting. And he's brought someone with him. Moments later, Whis appeared with his traveling companion, a small, purple-skinned being with white hair and elaborate robes. The Supreme Kai of Universe 7 looked distinctly uncomfortable, his eyes darting nervously around Beerus's domain. Naruto, Vados, Whis greeted cheerfully. May I present Supreme Kai, who has requested to observe your progress personally. Requested is perhaps overstating matters, the Supreme Kai muttered, bowing stiffly. The Grand Priest suggested most emphatically that I should acquaint myself with the unconventional candidate. Naruto approached, offering his hand in greeting. Nice to meet you. I've heard a lot about the Kaioshin from Whis. The Supreme Kai regarded Naruto's extended hand with visible uncertainty before accepting it gingerly. Yes, well. Your reputation precedes you as well, Naruto Uzumaki. Your methods have become something of a discussion point among the divine hierarchy. Good discussion or bad discussion? Naruto asked with characteristic directness. Both, I'm afraid, the Supreme Kai admitted. Your hybrid energy has raised concerns in certain quarters. Energy that exists outside established cosmic parameters can be unpredictable. You mean threatening to the status quo, Kurama interjected, causing the Supreme Kai to jump at the fox's sudden speech. The bijou speaks, he exclaimed, staring wide-eyed at Kurama. Whis mentioned your transformation, but seeing it firsthand is rather startling. Kurama's not just a bijou anymore, Naruto explained. He's evolved into something new, a cosmic chakra entity with awareness that spans dimensional boundaries. The Supreme Kai's expression grew more troubled. Yes, that's precisely the sort of development that raises concerns. Cosmic entities typically emerge through established processes, not spontaneous transformation. Perhaps that speaks to the limitations of established processes, Vados suggested smoothly, rather than any problem with the transformation itself. The subtle challenge in her tone wasn't lost on anyone present. For Vados to question cosmic conventions so directly marked a significant shift from her previously strict adherence to divine protocols. Yes, well, the Supreme Kai cleared his throat uncomfortably, I've been asked to assess the candidate's progress and stability. Recent cosmic disturbances have been linked to his unique energy signature. What disturbances? Naruto asked, immediately alert. Whis tapped his staff, projecting a cosmic map similar to the one they'd seen during the Rift incident, but with multiple points of instability highlighted across several universes. Dimensional fluctuations have increased 37% over the past 3 months, Whis explained. Most are minor and self-correcting, but their pattern suggests deliberate manipulation rather than natural cosmic shifts. Zenith, Naruto concluded immediately. The former god candidate hadn't been seen since the Rift incident, but his presence had been felt through indirect means, rumors of a being collecting unusual energy signatures, reports of ancient archives being accessed, whispers of a new cosmic philosophy spreading among certain advanced civilizations. Most likely, Vados agreed. The fluctuation patterns match his known manipulation techniques, though amplified considerably from previous incidents. The Supreme Kai's discomfort visibly increased. This Zenith individual is another concerning factor. His interest in your hybrid energy suggests potential collaboration that could threaten cosmic stability. Collaboration? Naruto scoffed. I'm not working with Zenith. If anything, I'm the one trying to stop whatever he's planning. Perhaps not willingly, the Supreme Kai clarified, but your energy developments may be inadvertently enabling his activities. The similarities between your hybrid power and what Zenith calls origin energy cannot be dismissed as coincidental. Before Naruto could object further, a tremendous crash echoed from Beerus's pyramid, followed by an enraged roar that shook the small planet. Moments later, the god of destruction himself burst through the wall of his chamber, purple energy crackling around him in chaotic, unstable patterns. Lord Beerus! Whis called out in alarm, a rare break in his usually unflappable demeanor. Beerus didn't respond, his eyes wild and unfocused as destruction energy pulsed from his body in dangerous waves. With a primal scream, he released a blast that vaporized a nearby mountain, leaving nothing but a smoking crater. He's lost control, the Supreme Kai gasped, backing away in terror. This is what we feared. Naruto didn't hesitate. Despite the obvious danger, he moved directly toward Beerus, channeling his hybrid energy to create a containment field around himself. Naruto, wait. Vados called out, genuine concern in her voice. His power is unstable, you can't approach safely. Watch me, Naruto replied with characteristic determination. Behind him, Kurama moved to flank Beerus from the opposite side, their practiced teamwork requiring no verbal coordination. As Naruto approached, Beerus turned his manic gaze toward him, destruction energy gathering for another blast. You, the god snarled, though there was no recognition in his eyes, only primal rage. Destroyer. The energy blast shot toward Naruto with devastating force, but instead of dodging, Naruto met it head-on with his hybrid power. The energies collided in a spectacular display, neither overwhelming the other. Beerus. Naruto called out, pushing through the energy clash. You need to calm down. Your power is destabilizing. The god of destruction responded with another roar, intensifying his attack. Naruto gritted his teeth, his feet sliding backward despite his enhanced strength. Behind Beerus, Kurama moved silently into position, 9 tails spread wide. Now, the fox signaled through their mental connection. In perfect synchronization, Kurama's tails drove into the ground around Beerus, creating a circular pattern of cosmic chakra that rose up like a cage. Simultaneously, Naruto pushed forward through Beerus's energy blast, his hands forming a complex sequence of seals before slamming his palm against the god's chest. Cosmic Stabilization Seal. The hybrid technique, part Fuinjutsu, part divine energy manipulation, spread across Beerus's purple skin in intricate patterns. The chaotic destruction energy surrounding him stuttered, flickered, and gradually receded, drawn into the seal where it stabilized into controlled, circular flows. Beerus's eyes cleared slightly, recognition dawning as the seal took effect. Naruto, he gasped, his voice ragged. What happened? You lost control again, Naruto explained, maintaining the seal as Kurama's cosmic cage slowly dissipated. Worse than before. The Supreme Kai approached cautiously, his expression a mixture of fear and astonishment. Incredible. You actually contained a god of destruction's rampage with a sealing technique. I've never seen anything like it. It's temporary, Naruto cautioned, helping the weakened Beerus sit on a nearby rock. The seal will hold for maybe an hour before his energy starts destabilizing again. Whis examined the seal closely, his usual cheerful demeanor replaced by professional focus. Fascinating adaptation of your world's Fuinjutsu. You've integrated the hybrid energy as a stabilizing matrix for chaotic destruction power. A technique that exists outside established cosmic parameters, Vados noted pointedly, glancing at the Supreme Kai. Yet clearly beneficial in this instance. The Supreme Kai had the grace to look somewhat abashed. I cannot deny the evidence before me. Your unconventional methods appear to have merit, Naruto Uzumaki. Beerus glared at the assembled group. Stop discussing me as though I'm not present, he snapped, though his voice lacked its usual force. This instability is merely a temporary inconvenience. With respect, Lord Beerus, Whis said gently, your condition has been deteriorating for months. The cosmic fluctuations affecting the universes appear to be affecting you most acutely. Because he's a god of destruction, Naruto realized suddenly. Zenith's manipulations of dimensional boundaries are directly connected to destruction energy, aren't they? Vados nodded, impressed by his insight. Precisely. Destruction energy exists partly to maintain cosmic boundaries. When those boundaries are manipulated extensively, the source of destruction energy becomes unstable, the Supreme Kai finished. This confirms our worst fears. If Zenith continues his activities, all gods of destruction could potentially lose control. Including candidates, Whis added, looking meaningfully at Naruto. Though your hybrid energy appears to offer some protection, you're not entirely immune to the effect. Naruto frowned, checking his own energy flows. While stable for now, he could detect subtle fluctuations that hadn't been present before, like distant thunder warning of an approaching storm. "How long have you known about this connection?" he asked the angels. "We suspected from the beginning," Vados admitted. "But confirmation came only recently, when multiple gods began showing symptoms simultaneously." "And you didn't think to mention this small detail?" Naruto's voice held rare sharpness. "That my training as a destruction god might be connected to whatever Zenith is planning? Would it have changed your decision?" Whis countered. "Your friend's life depended on accessing destruction energy. The cosmic implications were secondary to immediate necessity." Naruto couldn't argue with that logic, he would have made the same choice to save Kurama regardless. Still, the revelation that his transformation might somehow factor into Zenith's plans was deeply unsettling. "What does Zenith want?" he asked, looking between the angels and the Supreme Kai. "Really want, beyond collecting origin energy or whatever he calls it?" A heavy silence fell over the group. Finally, the Supreme Kai spoke, his voice uncharacteristically grave. "According to ancient texts, before the 12 universes existed as separate entities, there was a single, unified cosmos. The division occurred not naturally but by deliberate action of the first generation of gods, who found the unified cosmos too unstable, too chaotic to govern effectively. Division brought order," Whis continued. "Allowing each universe to develop according to its own cosmic principles, rather than conflicting energies causing constant destruction and reformation. Zenith believes this division was a mistake," Vados added. "That the natural state of existence is unified, not separated. His goal, as best we can determine, is to undo the original division, to collapse the 12 universes back into a single cosmic entity. Which would be catastrophic," the Supreme Kai emphasized. "The universes have evolved separately for billions of years. Forced reunification would cause energy conflicts on an unimaginable scale. Trillions of lives would be lost in the process." Naruto absorbed this information, his mind racing through implications. "And my hybrid energy? How does that factor in?" "Your energy exists partially outside the established cosmic framework," Whis explained. "It contains elements that bridge universal boundaries, likely why you can sense dimensional fluctuations others cannot. Zenith may see your power as proof of his theories," Vados suggested. "Evidence that energies can transcend artificial divisions. Or worse," the Supreme Kai added grimly, "he may view your energy as a potential catalyst for his reunification plan." Before Naruto could process these disturbing possibilities, a sharp pain lanced through his mind, the same perceptive discomfort he'd experienced during the rift incident, but magnified tenfold. He clutched his head, dropping to one knee as overwhelming sensory input flooded his consciousness. "Naruto!" Vados was beside him instantly, her hand on his shoulder. "What do you perceive?" "Rifts," he gasped, eyes wide as cosmic awareness expanded painfully. "Dozens of them, forming simultaneously across universal boundaries. Bigger than before. Much bigger." Whis immediately projected another cosmic map, confirming Naruto's perception. Multiple massive rifts were indeed forming, creating a geometric pattern that spanned several universes. "A harmonic cascade," Vados said, alarm evident in her voice. "Each rift reinforcing the others in perfect resonance. The dimensional stress will be catastrophic," Whis added, his usual calm slipping. "This goes far beyond previous incidents." Beerus struggled to his feet, the seal on his chest flickering as his anger surged. "Zenith has gone too far. This threatens everything." The Supreme Kai stared at the projection in horror. "We must alert the Grand Priest immediately. This requires intervention at the highest levels." "There's no time," Naruto objected, forcing himself back to his feet despite the continuing perceptive pain. "Those rifts are forming too quickly. By the time cosmic bureaucracy gets moving, the damage will be done." "What do you propose?" Vados asked, studying him intently. Naruto looked at the projection, analyzing the pattern with his enhanced perception. "These rifts are connected, a network," not isolated incidents. If we can disrupt the primary nodes, the entire harmonic structure should collapse. And the primary nodes are? Whis prompted. Here, and here, Naruto indicated 3 specific points where multiple rift lines intersected. The energy signatures are strongest at these junctions. They're the anchors holding the entire network together. That's Universe 11, Universe 6, and the boundary between Universes 7 and 4, Whis identified. Considerable distance to cover, even at our travel speeds. We'll need to split up, Naruto decided. Whis and the Supreme Kai can handle the Universe 11 node. Vados and I will take Universe 6, since she knows it best. Kurama. I'll handle the boundary node, the fox confirmed. My cosmic form can traverse dimensional boundaries directly now. The Supreme Kai looked skeptical. You're proposing we address this crisis with a divided response? Without consulting higher authorities? You can consult while you travel, Naruto countered. But these rifts won't wait for approval forms to be stamped. What about me? Beerus demanded. I'm not sitting this out while Zenith threatens my universe. Naruto glanced at the seal on Beerus's chest, already showing signs of deterioration. You're in no condition to, don't tell me what condition I'm in. Beerus snarled, destruction energy flickering around him despite the seal's restraint. I am still god of destruction of Universe 7. Then act like it, Naruto challenged, meeting the god's glare without flinching. A god protects their domain, but knows when to delegate. Your energy is dangerously unstable, which makes you a liability in this situation. For a tense moment, it seemed Beerus might explode into another rampage. Then, surprisingly, he laughed, a short, sharp sound with genuine amusement. You've grown bold, candidate. Fine. I'll remain here and coordinate from Whis' staff projections. But if Zenith shows his face. His expression darkened. Seal or no seal, I'll remind him why gods of destruction are feared. With plans quickly finalized, the group prepared to depart. As Naruto adjusted his technique for the coming confrontation, Vados approached him privately. Your leadership emerged quite naturally there, she observed. Issuing directions even to a Supreme Kai without hesitation. Naruto shrugged. Someone had to make a decision. Cosmic Committee meetings don't win battles. Indeed. Something in her tone made Naruto look up from his preparations. Vados was studying him with an intensity beyond her usual analytical gaze. Your development continues to exceed all established parameters. Not just in power, but in cosmic understanding. Is that a problem? Naruto asked, suddenly uncertain of her meaning. Not a problem, Vados clarified. An observation. Perhaps even, an opportunity. Before Naruto could press for clarification, she gestured toward the cosmic projection where the rifts continued to expand. We should depart immediately. Universe 6 is particularly vulnerable to dimensional disruption due to its unique cosmic composition. As they prepared to travel, Naruto was struck by a sudden thought. Wait. Before we go, there's something I need to do first. He turned to Whis. Can you take me to Earth? Just for a few minutes. Earth? The Supreme Kai questioned. There's hardly time for sightseeing. Not sightseeing, Naruto corrected. If we're facing something this big, I need to let my friends know what's happening. They deserve that much. Whis glanced at the projection, calculating. The rifts won't reach critical expansion for approximately 47 minutes. A brief detour to Earth would be possible, though it would leave less margin for error in our response. I'll make it quick, Naruto promised. 5 minutes, tops. After brief discussion, they agreed to Naruto's request. The plan was modified. Whis would transport Naruto to Earth for a brief visit before proceeding to the Universe 11 node with the Supreme Kai. Vados would begin preliminary containment on the Universe 6 rift, with Naruto joining her immediately after his Earth visit. Kurama would proceed directly to the boundary node between universes 7 and 4. As they prepared to separate, Kurama approached Naruto. "Be careful, kid. I sense something beyond these rifts, something Zenith isn't revealing openly." "I feel it too," Naruto admitted. "Like these rifts are just the visible part of a much bigger technique." "Watch your back," Kurama growled. "And watch Vados's too. I don't trust cosmic coincidences." With final preparations complete, the group separated to their assigned tasks. Whis transported Naruto directly to Earth, specifically to the Hokage Tower in Konoha. The journey took mere moments, a testament to Whis's extraordinary speed even by angel standards. They materialized on the roof, startling a pair of ANBU guards who immediately drew weapons. "Stand down," came a familiar lazy drawl. "He's friendly." "Mostly." Naruto turned to see Kakashi leaning against the railing, his signature masked face showing only mild surprise at the sudden appearance. "Kakashi-sensei!" Naruto exclaimed, grinning despite the gravity of the larger situation. "Yo," Kakashi raised a hand in casual greeting. "Decided to drop by after disappearing for a year and a half. Bold choice." "Sorry about that," Naruto rubbed the back of his head sheepishly. "It's complicated." "With you, it always is," Kakashi sighed, his visible eye crinkling in what might have been a smile. "Nice outfit, by the way. The purple's new." Naruto glanced down at his attire, a modified version of his original orange and black uniform, now incorporating elements of destroyer garb, including purple symbols along the sleeves and shoulders. "Part of the new job," he explained. "Is everyone okay?" "Sakura, Sasuke, everyone." "They're fine," Kakashi assured him. "Worried about you, obviously. We sent search parties for months before concluding you were somewhere beyond our reach." His gaze shifted to Whis, who stood patiently nearby. "I assume this gentleman is connected to your disappearance." "This is Whis," Naruto introduced. He's an angel attendant to the god of destruction of Universe 7, and he's been training me to eventually take over the position." To Kakashi's credit, he merely blinked once before nodding. "Of course he is. Why not? It's hardly the strangest thing that's happened around here." He pushed off from the railing. "I'm guessing this isn't just a social call." "No," Naruto confirmed, his expression turning serious. "Something big is happening, cosmic level big. I can't explain it all, but there's a being named Zenith who's trying to collapse the boundaries between universes. If he succeeds, the consequences would be catastrophic. And you're involved because I have a unique energy signature that might be connected to his plans," Naruto explained. "And because stopping disasters is kind of my thing, even as a god in training." Kakashi studied him for a moment, noting the subtle changes beyond just clothing, the faint purple markings that occasionally shimmered beneath his skin, the deeper resonance in his voice, the way he carried himself with a new kind of authority. "You've changed," Kakashi observed. "Not just physically." "Yeah," Naruto admitted. "But the important stuff is still the same." "The important stuff being protecting what matters," Naruto said simply. "Finding a better way forward, even when the obvious path is destruction." Kakashi nodded, apparently satisfied. "So what do you need from us? I assume you didn't come just to say hello before cosmic catastrophe strikes." "Actually, that's exactly why I came," Naruto said with a smile that carried both warmth and sadness. "I don't know what's going to happen when we confront Zenith. This whole god business is bigger than anything I've faced before. I just needed to see home one more time. To remember what I'm fighting for." Something in Kakashi's expression softened. "Well, you picked a good day for it. Everyone's gathering at Ichiraku's this evening for the spring festival. Perfect timing to make a dramatic appearance." "I wish I could stay," Naruto said regretfully. "But we've got about 30 minutes before dimensional rifts start causing serious damage. Then we'll have to bring the reunion to you," Kakashi decided. He made a quick hand sign, and one of the ANBU vanished in a blur of movement. Give me 3 minutes. True to his word, within 3 minutes the rooftop began filling with familiar faces, Sakura arriving first with Sasuke close behind, followed by Shikamaru, Hinata, Kiba, and others. Each reaction to Naruto's appearance ranged from shocked, Sakura, to unsurprised, Shikamaru, who muttered his trademark, "What a drag," before cracking a rare smile. The reunion was brief but intense, a flurry of hugs, exclamations, and rapid explanations. Naruto provided the condensed version of his cosmic journey, while his friends updated him on developments in Konoha. "So you're literally becoming a god?" Sakura asked, her expression torn between disbelief and resignation. "Why am I not surprised you take the most troublesome path possible?" "It wasn't exactly planned," Naruto defended. "But it turned out to be the right path, I think. I'm learning things about the universe, about all universes, that I never imagined." "And this Zenith person?" Sasuke questioned, ever focused on potential threats. "You believe he poses danger even to gods?" "He's manipulating forces that existed before the universe as we know it," Naruto confirmed. "And yes, he's dangerous enough that even divine authorities are concerned." Sasuke's eyes narrowed thoughtfully. "If you need assistance." "I appreciate that," Naruto smiled. "But this is something I have to handle at the level I'm operating on now. Bringing humans, even extremely powerful shinobi, into a cosmic conflict would put you at unnecessary risk." "Naruto," Whis called gently from where he'd been waiting. "I must insist we depart soon. The rifts are expanding more rapidly than anticipated." With reluctance evident in every movement, Naruto began saying quick goodbyes. When he reached Hinata, she pressed something into his hand, a small charm with the Hyuga symbol. "For protection," she said softly. "Even gods can use a little extra luck." "I'll bring it back when this is over," Naruto promised, carefully tucking the charm into his pocket. "You'd better," Sakura warned, punching his arm with affection rather than her usual force. "God or not, I'll still track you down if you disappear for another year." With final farewells exchanged, Naruto rejoined Whis. As the angel prepared for departure, Kakashi approached one last time. "The will of fire burns even in divine flames, it seems," the former Hokage observed. "Just remember who you are, Naruto. God of destruction or not, your greatest strength has always been changing the rules others thought immutable." "I'll remember," Naruto promised. "Take care of everyone until I get back." "Always do," Kakashi assured him with a lazy salute. In a flash of light, Whis transported them away from Earth, but instead of returning directly to Beerus's world, they appeared in what seemed to be empty space near a massive nebula. "This isn't where we planned to meet up," Naruto noted, immediately alert. "No," Whis confirmed, his expression uncharacteristically serious. "I detected unusual energy fluctuations when we left Earth, directed specifically at your hybrid signature. Someone was monitoring your movements." "Zenith?" "Most likely," Whis nodded. "Which suggests our planned response may have been compromised. I've brought you to a neutral location to recalibrate." Naruto extended his senses, searching for any cosmic disturbances. What he found made his blood run cold. The rifts had increased exponentially during their brief visit to Earth, now forming a complex lattice that spanned at least 5 universes. This is accelerating too fast, he realized. These rifts aren't just expanding, they're multiplying. Indeed, Whis confirmed grimly. The pattern suggests a triggering mechanism was activated recently. Perhaps our very decision to split up played into Zenith's strategy. A sudden, overwhelming sense of wrongness hit Naruto, not a perceptive pain like before, but a profound certainty that something terrible had occurred. He reached out specifically toward Universe 6, where Vados should be working on containing the primary rift. "Vados," he gasped, eyes widening. "I can't sense her energy." Whis immediately projected a view of Universe 6's primary rift. What they saw confirmed Naruto's worst fears. The rift had expanded dramatically, and at its center floated an elaborate crystalline structure. Within that structure, clearly visible but seemingly unconscious, was Vados. No. Naruto's hybrid energy flared reflexively, responding to his emotional surge. What's he done to her? Containment field, Whis analyzed, his voice tight with what might have been genuine anger. Designed specifically to trap angelic energy. Vados suggested our separation, Naruto realized with growing horror. What if she was targeted from the beginning? What if that was Zenith's plan all along? Angel energy is extraordinarily powerful, Whis confirmed grimly. If Zenith sought a catalyst to trigger universal collapse. He didn't need to finish the thought. Naruto already understood the terrible strategy: capture an angel, use their unique energy to amplify the dimensional rifts beyond sustainable levels, and trigger the collapse of universal boundaries. We need to rescue her immediately, Naruto stated, already calculating the fastest route to Universe 6. I agree, Whis nodded. However, we face a tactical dilemma. The rifts continue to multiply across all universes. If we focus solely on rescuing Vados, countless worlds may suffer catastrophic dimensional instabilities. And if we don't rescue her, Zenith uses her power to destroy everything anyway, Naruto countered. Some choice. Indeed, Whis sighed. The classic cosmic conundrum: sacrifice one to save many, or risk many to save one. Naruto's expression hardened. I've never accepted that kind of choice, and I'm not starting now. There's always another way. He closed his eyes, connecting deeply with his hybrid energy while extending his cosmic senses to their absolute limit. The lattice of rifts appeared in his mind's eye, a complex, multidimensional structure with Vados's captured energy at its center. The pattern wasn't random but precisely calculated, each rift positioned to amplify the others in perfect resonance. But within that seemingly perfect design, Naruto detected something else, a flaw, a vulnerability in the harmonic structure. If disrupted at exactly the right point with exactly the right frequency. His eyes snapped open. I have a plan. But I'll need Kurama's help, your transportation abilities, and about 1,000 shadow clones. A rather unconventional approach to cosmic crisis management, Whis observed, though a glimmer of hope showed in his eyes. But conventional approaches seem inadequate at present. Contact Kurama, Naruto instructed as he began creating shadow clones. Tell him to maintain position at the boundary node but prepare for synchronized action on my signal. As his plan took shape, Naruto felt a strange calm settling over him, not the detached serenity of divine perspective, but the focused certainty of a shinobi who had found his path forward against impossible odds. God or ninja, the core remained the same: protect what matters, find a better way, never give up. With hundreds of shadow clones surrounding him in space, each already aware of their role through shared consciousness, Naruto turned to Whis. Ready when you are, he said, determination burning in his eyes. I must warn you, Whis said, studying the increasingly complex rift pattern on his staff projection, what you're proposing has never been attempted at this scale. The energy requirements alone are beyond what most cosmic entities could manage. Good thing I'm not most cosmic entities, Naruto replied with confidence that wasn't mere bravado but earned certainty. Let's go save Vados and stop Zenith's plan in one shot. Whis nodded, tapping his staff to create a transportation field around Naruto and his clone army. To Universe 6 then, and perhaps, to history. They materialized at the edge of the primary rift in Universe 6, a massive tear in reality that dwarfed the previous incident by orders of magnitude. At its center, the crystalline structure containing Vados pulsed with captured angelic energy, feeding power into the expanding rift network. And standing before it, monitoring the process with evident satisfaction, was Zenith. Naruto Uzumaki, the former god candidate, called out without turning. Right on schedule. Your punctuality is appreciated, if predictable. Let her go, Zenith, Naruto demanded, his clones spreading out in a predetermined formation. Whatever you think you're accomplishing here, it's not worth the cost. Zenith turned, his galaxy-filled eyes reflecting the rift's chaotic energies. Cost is relative to value, young god. The reunification of what was artificially divided. The restoration of cosmic harmony. Such goals justify considerable sacrifice. Including trillions of lives across 12 universes. Naruto challenged. That's not harmony, it's genocide on a cosmic scale. A temporary disruption in the grand design, Zenith dismissed with a wave of his hand. The unified cosmos will establish new equilibrium, with consciousness reforming in patterns more aligned with fundamental truth. Your truth sounds convenient for someone who wants to reshape reality, Naruto observed, signaling his clones to begin gathering energy as he kept Zenith distracted. Were you planning to manipulate me from the beginning? Was my hybrid energy part of your calculation? Zenith smiled, an expression both beautiful and terrible in its cosmic certainty. Your emergence was unexpected but fortuitous. A being who naturally bridges artificial divisions. Who manifests energy outside established parameters. You are living proof that the multiverse strains against its unnatural constraints. He gestured to the crystalline structure holding Vados. Just as angels are proof of cosmic hypocrisy, beings of extraordinary power forced to serve as mere attendants, their true potential carefully contained by arbitrary restrictions. Inside the structure, Vados stirred slightly, her eyes opening though her body remained immobilized. She caught Naruto's gaze, and something passed between them, not just communication but connection, a shared understanding that transcended words. You talk about freedom while imprisoning her? Naruto questioned, continuing to engage Zenith while his clones completed their energy gathering. That's some twisted logic. Temporary constraint for eternal liberation, Zenith replied. Her energy is the perfect catalyst, pure, unfettered by the corruptions that limit gods and mortals alike. Combined with the origin energy I've collected, it will trigger the cascade that unravels artificial boundaries. As he spoke, the rift pulsed larger, and through it Naruto could see other rifts responding in kind, the network expanding, strengthening, approaching critical resonance. You're making a mistake, Naruto said, taking a step forward. Boundaries exist for reasons, even in nature. Rivers need banks to flow properly. Cells need membranes to function. Universes need separation to develop their unique qualities. Zenith's expression hardened. Poetic analogies from a half-formed god. You speak of what you cannot possibly understand. I have studied the pre-division cosmos for millennia, seen fragments of what existed before artificial constraints. The potential is beyond description. So is the destruction you're causing, Naruto countered, nodding almost imperceptibly to Whis, who had positioned himself opposite the crystalline prison. Look around you, Zenith. Really look. Those aren't just energy patterns being disrupted, they're worlds, lives, entire civilizations facing annihilation because of your obsession. Something flickered in Zenith's cosmic eyes, perhaps doubt, or perhaps merely irritation at being questioned. Sacrifices for ascension are inevitable. Even your ninja philosophy acknowledges this truth. My ninja way is about protecting what matters, Naruto corrected. About finding a path forward that doesn't sacrifice what makes life worth living. Noble sentiments, Zenith acknowledged. But ultimately irrelevant to cosmic necessity. That's where you're wrong, Naruto replied, his clone formation now complete. Nothing's more relevant than protecting what matters, not even cosmic necessity. With that declaration, Naruto activated his plan. All at once, his shadow clones released the energy they'd been gathering, not in an attack on Zenith, but in a precisely calculated pattern around the rift itself. The hybrid energy formed a counterresonance to the rift's harmonic structure, creating interference patterns that momentarily stabilized its expansion. Simultaneously, Whis moved with angelic speed, targeting not Zenith but the crystalline prison. His staff struck the structure at its mathematically weakest point, creating a hairline fracture in its otherwise perfect surface. That tiny imperfection was all Naruto needed. Channeling his hybrid energy through one clone positioned closest to the fracture, he created a direct link to Vados, whose eyes widened in understanding. For a crucial moment, their energies connected, Naruto's hybrid power and Vados' angelic essence forming a unique circuit that Zenith hadn't anticipated. No! Zenith shouted, realizing too late what was happening. He launched a blast of concentrated origin energy toward the connecting clone, but Naruto had anticipated this move. The clone didn't dodge but instead absorbed the attack, incorporating Zenith's origin energy into the hybrid connection. The result was spectacular, a cascading energy transformation that spread through the crystalline prison, converting its restraining properties into amplification potential. Inside the structure, Vados seized the opportunity. With Naruto's hybrid energy providing an unexpected pathway, she channeled her own power in a direction Zenith hadn't accounted for, not outward to fuel the rifts, but inward, creating a controlled implosion of the prison itself. The crystalline structure shattered spectacularly, releasing Vados while simultaneously sending a disruptive energy pulse through the entire rift network. The harmonics that Zenith had so carefully calculated began to falter, rifts stuttering in their expansion. "What have you done?" Zenith roared, his carefully cultivated composure finally breaking. Origin energy swirled around him chaotically, responding to his emotional state. "Changed the rules," Naruto replied simply, as Vados appeared beside him, free but visibly weakened. "Like I always do." Zenith's face contorted with rage and disbelief. "Do you have any idea what you've disrupted?" The resonance cascade was approaching completion. Universal reunification was within reach. And trillions would have died in the process, Naruto countered. "That's not a price anyone has the right to decide for others, not even someone who's studied cosmic history for millennia." "Ignorant child," Zenith snarled, gathering his power for what promised to be a devastating attack. "You understand nothing of true cosmic harmony." Before he could strike, another presence materialized between them, Kurama in his full cosmic form, 9 tails spread wide in an impressive display of power. "He understands more than you think," the fox growled. "The boundary node is secured, Kit. The counter-resonance is holding for now, but the network's trying to restabilize." Naruto nodded, supporting Vados who leaned against him. "Then it's time for Phase 2. With practiced coordination, Naruto, Kurama, and his remaining shadow clones began a complex energy manipulation technique, something he developed by combining ninja chakra control principles with divine energy application. The hybrid power flowed through the clone network, creating a web of counter-frequency energy that spread through the rift lattice. "You cannot possibly maintain control over such a complex energy structure," Zenith scoffed, though uncertainty had crept into his voice. "Even angels struggle with multidimensional harmonics." "Alone, maybe not," Naruto agreed. "But I'm never really alone." As if on cue, Vados straightened beside him, her strength returning as she added her angelic power to the technique. Whis joined from the opposite side, their staffs crossing to create an amplification circuit for Naruto's hybrid energy. "And don't forget me," Kurama added, his cosmic chakra integrating perfectly with the growing energy web. The combined power, ninja, bijou, angel, and god, created something unprecedented, a multidimensional sealing technique that began systematically closing rifts throughout the network. Starting with the smallest fractures and working inward, the counter-resonance strengthened as each rift sealed, creating a cascade effect opposite to what Zenith had intended. Zenith watched in disbelief as his carefully constructed rift network began collapsing. "This is impossible," he breathed. The calculations were perfect. The origin energy was sufficient. "Your calculations didn't account for one thing," Naruto said, the strain of maintaining such complex energy manipulation evident but his determination unwavering. "Bonds that transcend cosmic divisions, connections that exist not despite boundaries but because of the unique perspectives they create." As the rift network continued collapsing inward, Zenith made a desperate move. Gathering all his remaining origin energy, he dove toward the primary rift, attempting to manually restore the resonance pattern through direct intervention. "I won't let millennia of work be undone by a half-formed god and his pets," he shouted, plunging into the chaotic energies of the destabilizing rift. The result was catastrophic, not for the universes, but for Zenith himself. As his origin energy contacted the counter-resonance field directly, a feedback loop formed, trapping him in a dimensional pocket of his own creation. His scream echoed across cosmic frequencies as he was pulled into the collapsing rift, disappearing from normal spacetime. With Zenith removed from the equation, the remaining rifts sealed more easily. One by one, the tiers in reality closed, cosmic boundaries restabilizing with each successful repair. When the final rift sealed, the primary tear in Universe 6 that had held Vados captive, a shockwave of restored cosmic energy pulsed outward, temporarily illuminating the structure of reality itself. For a brief, transcendent moment, Naruto could perceive all 12 universes simultaneously, seeing not separation but connection, distinct yet harmonious parts of a greater whole. As the extraordinary vision faded, Naruto felt his legs give way. The energy expenditure of maintaining such a complex technique had pushed even his enormous reserves to their limit. Vados caught him before he could fall, her touch unexpectedly gentle. "You did it," she said softly, something beyond professional approval in her voice. "You found the third path." "We did it," Naruto corrected, looking between her, Whis, and Kurama. "I couldn't have managed any of this alone." "Speak for yourself," Kurama snorted, though his cosmic eyes shimmered with what might have been pride. "I was handling my part just fine." "Of course you were," Naruto laughed weakly. Whis studied his staff projection, confirming what their senses already told them. All rifts have been sealed successfully. Dimensional integrity is restoring at an accelerated rate throughout the affected universes. "And Zenith?" Naruto asked. "Trapped in a pocket dimension created by his own energy conflict," Whis explained. "Not destroyed, but contained beyond his ability to escape independently." "Should we try to rescue him?" Naruto asked, his natural compassion emerging even for an adversary. Vados shook her head. "His containment is appropriate to his crimes. The pocket dimension will sustain him indefinitely, giving him ample time to reconsider his approach to cosmic harmony." As they prepared to return to Universe 7, something unexpected happened. A small portal opened nearby, not a threatening rift but a controlled doorway between dimensions. Through it stepped a diminutive figure with blue skin, white hair styled in an elaborate mohawk, and formal attire that suggested authority far beyond even the angels. "Grand Priest!" Whis and Vados exclaimed simultaneously, both bowing deeply. Naruto recognized the name immediately, the father of all angels, chief attendant to Zeno himself, and among the most powerful beings in existence. He attempted to bow despite his exhaustion, but the Grand Priest waved this off casually. "No need for formalities under the circumstances," he said, his voice surprisingly gentle despite the cosmic authority it carried. "I've come to assess the situation personally." His penetrating gaze swept over the recently sealed rift, then focused on Naruto with particular interest. "Fascinating. You've developed quite differently from traditional god candidates, Naruto Uzumaki." "That's what everyone keeps telling me," Naruto replied with tired honesty. The Grand Priest smiled slightly. "Indeed. Your methods are unorthodox, your energy signature unprecedented, and your approach to cosmic authority, refreshingly novel." He turned to Whis and Vados. "My children, you've done well in guiding this unusual candidate. Though I suspect he's guided you as much as you've guided him." "Father," Vados began hesitantly, "about my reassignment request." "Ah yes," the Grand Priest nodded. "Given recent events, I believe a permanent reassignment is indeed warranted. The hybrid energy Naruto has developed represents a new cosmic parameter that requires dedicated observation and guidance." He returned his attention to Naruto. "Which brings me to the matter of your candidacy. The Supreme Kai has submitted his report, as have my children here. Your handling of the dimensional crisis demonstrates capabilities beyond traditional destroyer parameters. Is that good or bad?" Naruto asked, direct as always. The Grand Priest's smile widened slightly. "It is, Interesting. The role of gods of destruction has remained largely unchanged for billions of years. Perhaps some evolution is overdue. He made a simple gesture, and a small orb of pure, concentrated energy appeared, similar to destruction energy but somehow more refined, more fundamental. This is the essence of divine authority for Universe 7, the Grand Priest explained. Typically bestowed after decades of candidacy and testing. However, circumstances suggest an accelerated timeline may be appropriate in this case. He held the orb toward Naruto. If you accept this, you become not just a candidate but a god of destruction in full. Lord Beerus will enter retirement, and cosmic responsibility for Universe 7 will transfer to you. Naruto stared at the orb, feeling its immense power calling to him. Yet hesitation held him back. What about Beerus? Is his condition already stabilizing? The Grand Priest assured him. With the rifts sealed and dimensional integrity restoring, the disruption affecting destruction energy is resolving naturally. He will recover fully, though the experience may have humbled him somewhat. And what about my friends on Earth? My home? The Grand Priest's expression remained neutral, but something like approval flickered in his eyes. A god of destruction who maintains connection to mortals is unprecedented. But then, much about you is unprecedented, Naruto Uzumaki. Perhaps such connections will prove valuable rather than problematic. He gestured to the orb again. The choice remains yours. Accept divine authority with full knowledge of its responsibilities, or continue as a candidate while we explore other possibilities. Naruto looked to Vados, whose expression had softened into something he'd never seen before, genuine openness, without the careful restraint that typically masked her emotions. What do you think? He asked her directly. I think, she replied after a thoughtful pause, that a god of destruction who understands preservation as thoroughly as destruction could represent a significant cosmic evolution. Naruto nodded, then turned to Kurama. Partner? You know my vote, kid, the fox rumbled. We've come this far together. Might as well see what a fox-powered god of destruction can really do. Decision made, Naruto reached for the orb. As his fingers touched the divine essence, it didn't simply transfer to him but merged with his existing hybrid energy, creating yet another evolutionary step in his developing power. Purple-red energy swirled around him, intertwining with the pure destruction essence to create something new, divine authority tempered by ninja wisdom, cosmic power guided by human connection. When the transformation completed, Naruto stood changed yet fundamentally the same, now officially god of destruction of Universe 7, yet still the determined ninja who never gave up on finding a better path forward. The Grand Priest observed the process with evident fascination. Most illuminating. You've integrated divine authority without surrendering your original nature. A synthesis rather than a replacement. That's kind of my specialty, Naruto smiled, feeling new power and responsibility settling within him. Finding ways to bring different energies together instead of letting them fight. Indeed. The Grand Priest turned to his children. Whis, you will oversee the transition of Lord Beerus to honorary status. Vados, your reassignment to Universe 7 is confirmed, effective immediately. He created another small portal, preparing to depart. I anticipate the cosmic hierarchy will be watching your development with great interest, Lord Naruto. Your approach may well inform the evolution of divine roles across all 12 universes. With that profound statement, the Grand Priest stepped through his portal, leaving the newly confirmed god of destruction with his unusual support team. Lord Naruto, Whis tested the title with an amused smile. It has a certain ring to it, though I suspect you'll insist we dispense with formalities. You suspect correctly, Naruto confirmed with a grin. I've never been big on titles. Nevertheless, certain protocols must be observed, Vados noted, though her typical strictness seemed tempered by new warmth. Your official introduction to the cosmic hierarchy, for instance, and the formal recognition ceremony. Can't we just send a card? Naruto suggested hopefully. Something like, new god of destruction, same ninja approach, refreshments provided. I'd attend that ceremony, Kurama chuckled. As they prepared to return to Universe 7, Naruto found himself reflecting on the extraordinary journey that had brought him to this point. What had begun as a desperate attempt to save Kurama had evolved into cosmic responsibility beyond anything he could have imagined. Yet through it all, his core principles had remained unchanged: protect what matters, find a better way forward, never give up on the bonds that give life meaning. "You're unusually contemplative," Vados observed as they traveled through space. "Just thinking about how things turned out," Naruto replied. "When you first brought me to Beerus's world, I never imagined I'd end up as an actual god of destruction. And I never imagined I'd request reassignment to guide such an unconventional deity," Vados countered, a small smile playing at her lips. "It seems we've both expanded our cosmic perspectives." Something in her tone made Naruto look at her more closely. The formal distance she'd maintained throughout most of his training had diminished significantly, replaced by what seemed like genuine connection. "Why did you really request reassignment?" he asked directly. "The whole, observing hybrid energy, explanation seems convenient, but not complete." Vados was silent for a moment, considering her response. "Angels exist to guide, to observe, to maintain cosmic protocols," she began carefully. "For millions of years, I've fulfilled that role precisely as expected, never deviating from established parameters." She glanced at him, something unexpectedly vulnerable in her expression. "Then you arrived, breaking rules, questioning assumptions, finding third paths where cosmic authorities saw only binary choices. It was illuminating. Illuminating enough to change universes?" Naruto pressed gently. "Illuminating enough to recognize that cosmic evolution requires catalysts," she replied. "And that perhaps my own existence had become too constrained by expectation and routine." A genuine smile formed on her lips. "Besides, someone needs to ensure you don't completely revolutionize cosmic hierarchy overnight." "Only every other night," Naruto promised with a grin. Their conversation paused as they approached Beerus's world, or rather, what was now technically Naruto's world, a concept he hadn't fully processed yet. The small planet looked unchanged from orbit, though Naruto could sense subtle differences in its energy signature, already beginning to align with his own rather than Beerus's. "Home sweet home," he murmured as they descended toward the surface. Whis and Kurama had arrived ahead of them, and a small welcoming committee had formed. Beerus himself, looking significantly recovered though still wearing the stabilization seal on his chest, the Supreme Kai, whose expression suggested he was still processing recent events, and surprisingly, several of Beerus's attendant creatures, who had arranged something resembling a celebration. "So," Beerus called out as they landed, "the candidate returns as a full-fledged god. The cosmic bureaucracy moves with unusual speed these days." "Special circumstances," Naruto shrugged. "Something about saving multiple universes from catastrophic collapse." "Yes, well," Beerus sniffed, though without real animosity, "dramatic heroics have always fast-tracked promotions. Though I must say, you're taking on the position sooner than I'd planned to relinquish it. If you're not ready to retire." Naruto began, genuinely concerned. Beerus waved this off. "Don't be absurd. I've been destroying things for millions of years. The prospect of unlimited naps without Whis nagging me about cosmic responsibilities is positively delightful." "You'll remain as advisory capacity, of course," the Supreme Kai interjected, sounding like he was trying to convince himself as much as others. "The transition period for divine authority typically spans centuries. I suspect Lord Naruto will compress that timeline considerably," Whis commented with amusement. "He does have a talent for accelerated development." As the group moved toward the pyramid to discuss transition details, Vados fell into step beside Naruto. "Your first official act as god of destruction?" she asked curiously. "Traditionally, new gods mark their ascension with a significant cosmic statement." Naruto considered this for a moment. "I think I'd like to visit that planet we saved, Cryosis. See how the Lumidians are doing, maybe help accelerate their world's healing now that I have full divine authority. Beginning your destruction tenure with an act of creation and renewal." Vados observed. Highly unorthodox. Would you expect anything less from me? Naruto asked with a smile. No, she admitted, returning his smile with a warmth that transformed her usually reserved features. I would expect nothing less from the god who rewrote cosmic rules before even officially taking the position. As they reached the pyramid, Naruto paused, taking a moment to truly appreciate the extraordinary journey that had brought him here. From a lonely orphan shunned by his village to Hokage candidate, from dying ninja to cosmic authority, each step had seemed impossible until he'd made it inevitable through sheer determination and the bonds he'd formed along the way. Now, as god of destruction of Universe 7, with Kurama evolved into a cosmic entity, Vados as his angelic attendant, and a unique approach to divine authority, Naruto faced perhaps his greatest adventure yet, redefining what it meant to balance creation and destruction across an entire universe. Getting philosophical in your old age? Kurama teased, sensing his reflection. Just appreciating the view, Naruto replied silently. From village pariah to literal god, it's been quite a journey. And knowing you, this is just the beginning, the fox observed with affectionate resignation. Gods help the cosmic hierarchy, they have no idea what they've just unleashed. Naruto laughed, the sound carrying divine resonance while remaining fundamentally human in its joy. Around him, his unusual divine family, retired destroyer god, angel attendants, cosmic fox, and bemused supreme Kai, represented a new kind of cosmic authority, one built on connection rather than separation. As the sun set on his first day as official god of destruction, Naruto felt not the weight of cosmic responsibility, but the lightness of possibility, the chance to protect on a universal scale while finding new paths that others had overlooked. Not just destroyer, but transformer. Not just god, but bridge between divine and mortal understanding. The ninja who became a god without losing his humanity. The destroyer who understood the value of preservation. The outsider who transformed cosmic hierarchy simply by remaining true to himself. The divine revolution had only just begun. The end. Thank you for watching this video. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video.